le be le that chance ya gore le communicate le department directly. That's the main purpose. Because rena bjale ka committee, we do oversight to the department. And ke department where things are happening. Mara e bohlokwa gore ga le le mo, o seke wa tsamaya, e le gore there is nothing e leng gore o itshwere when you go back home. Ke ba tlile re ba biditse, even after the presentation, le ga re kwetse, you can still engage with them. They are here for you. And I think that should be the main understanding why we are here. And let's say by this department is the one that can change life in our communities. We believe it, that if we work together, this department is the one that can change life in our communities. But now, if you are going to do an exercise, always reatla, you go back, but there's nothing that you get out of this, then it's futile. It's useless. Why are we coming here? Why do we transport you to come here? So please, let's work together. It's not about fighting each other. It's working and complementing each other. So let's make sure that we have that understanding. Even when you raise questions, it's not to expose other people. You are raising a question that you need help. And let's work together with the department so that there can be a difference. So let's have that understanding. That is the committee where we are. Now, today, our program is not a long program, but it's a long program based on the presentations. So our main item is the presentation of the department. The main vote, which is economic development. Now, the entities. Krena libu liquor board, krena libu gambling board, bo Gauteng enterprise propeller. So all of them are going to make their presentation. But please understand, it is for the second quarter. I get last when we were in Duduza, it was the annual report. The annual report, yeah, 2022-23. Yeah, fedileng ka February, March this year. But now, the first quarter, we've reviewed it. Now we're reviewing the second quarter, yeah, fedileng ka August. So, Jaja, in this period of 3 months, and they want to know what have you done in these 3 months? Because we got the inputs. So we go with them that way every quarter. So this is what they are going to present. Now, allow me, I want to see the program flight head. I don't know what's the problem. Do you have a problem flighting the program? Because the people want to know what is our program today. So that when we adopt the program, we know where it is. So here is our program. So welcome and opening, I've been doing that. You are all welcomed and you feel free to engage in the presentations. And again, we are saying, you use the language of your convenient. Renale Hansat, I'll give you all those instructions. So you are welcomed, and officially, this meeting is declared open, but Renale a tradition as the legislature and parliament. When you open, you must declare the precinct first, so that it be precinct your legislature. And you can see that now, this has turned to be a national anthem. You know it. But I'll go through it as a matter of must. Now, I'm introducing myself, Mpapa Kanyani. I'm the acting chairperson of the Economic Development Portfolio Committee, and I hereby declare the Dinokeng Civic Theatre in Sidibeng as the precinct of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature in terms of Rule 56.1.2 of the Standing Rules of the Gauteng Legislature, version 5, revision 8, read together with section 2.1 and section 28 of the Powers, Privileges, and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislature Act number 4 of 2004. Now, for the duration of this meeting, this place will be the precinct of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. That's the standing rules of the legislature will apply and govern all the engagements of the day. I now thank you. Here is the agenda for today, but before that, Victoria, do we have any apologies? There is one apology. Yeah, you can go on.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. I've got 3 apologies. One from Member Adams, he's attending in.
Do you hear her? Try to
sorry.
be audible.
Okay.
Speak to the mic.
Oh, thank you. I've got apology from Member Adams, he's attending infrastructure meeting. An apology from MEC Mutara, she's attending Africa Tech Festival. Member Bedenhorst, she's got an appointment with visa people at Home Affairs. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are the apologies. I take it they are noted by the members. We have those as the apologies. But now we have the agenda. Now the agenda I indicated, that is the presentation by the Department of Economic Development, including the entities. So from there will be questions. And we move that way up until the end. I'll just request the members to move and we adopt this agenda. Can we get a mover? Mme Mogale Letsie.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo, ke mover for the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you very much.
I second that. I second the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you very much. Ntate Atkinson is the one who seconded this agenda. But now I think it's important that you really know the members of this committee. I'll start from the extreme right. So right at the end, we've got Honorable Member Mogale Letsie. I'm sure you're monarch. Alemon. Yeah. It's important to know her. Let's say it's a public rep. Wherever she goes, you must respond here. Here are the questions. Okay. Yeah, and then next to her, Nalime Mungeli. Yeah, Libabon. Now, Renali is our chair of chairs at the legislature, a member of this committee, Lamutseba, but officially, Ke Me Nkosi Malobani.
Sanbonani.
Yes. Now, on my left-hand side, next to me, Kenale Me Duplessis.
Good morning, everyone.
And then again, the extreme left, Kenalin Tate Atkinson. Thank you very much. Kitla from the department, Renale HOD, Kiena atla introduce somebody department. Le bona le batsebe. And Patswana le renes public reps. Their phone, I be on silent. They must respond to the calls all the time. Scapulate or late phone ya the officials. Le rena phone charna they are always. You phone anytime. Anytime we'll respond to their call. Whether private call, we respond. That's our role, because we must respond. HOD, nako ke ya gago introducer about le bona. You assist us with that light. It's really getting less, yeah.
Dumelang. Le kae? Lebitso la ka ke Blake. Blake Mosley le fatola. Ba bang ba mpitsa Bra Blake. I'm here with my team from the department and the entities. So what I'm going to do is to introduce just the CEOs of the different entities and management from the department. Bulumko ki bulumko nelana ne sebetsa le ena ku departmenteng. And me o ki Boitumelo Mabusela. Boitumelo Mabusela ki CFO ku departmenteng. And Renali Peter. What's your name again? Ki Peter ki DDG ku departmenteng. Lihuala Road. All right, and then Ritzamalin Tatenawa, Mponawa, also from the department, corporate services. And then let's leave Marsha, the most important person, Ki Marsha. Ki not swearing township economy. Our MLM for it. All right, and then to go to the entities, Matthew Sateche, ki CEO ya Cradle and Dinokeng, entity ya ku departmenti, and then Rinale Tandi Ngobe, Metandi, ki CEO ya Gauteng Industrial Development Zone, and then Ola Sitole, ki CEO ya Val SEZ. SEZ stands for Special Economic Zone. And then Rinale Bega Zulu, ki CEO ya Tshwane Automotive Special Economic Zone. And then Don Robertson, ki CEO ya Constitutional Hill. And then Saki Zamkaka is wearing two hats. Ki acting CEO ya Gauteng Growth and Development Agency, and at the same time, ki CEO ya Gauteng Enterprise Propeller, JEP. And then Rinale Mafika Mglina from Val SEZ. Usebetsa Likola. Lee Collins Kekano, Sebetsa Likola, also from the Val SEZ. And then, of course, Lebo Kwena Utloyetsang presentation from the department. All right. Oh, sorry, Ish. Yeah, Elitampula, yeah, ne? Kintate Africa from the Automotive Industry Development Corporation, AIDC, ki CEO, and then of course Lee Ste Dlamini, ki CEO ya Gauteng Tourism Authority. Okay, I think we are done.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We now get to the presentation. We're going to start with the main vote, which is the economic development department. So we are starting with the department. But now, after the presentation, before we go to entities, re tlo allow Ntate Masha, o ba boletseng ka ena, so that a tlhalose hore na mo Vaal, which stakeholders are they working with? Because we want to see these people. I give them as account. All the time we're saying people are benefiting, but who are those people? So that's why the department present, Vaal, he must now stand up and tell more Vaal, give a benefit. Then from there we'll go to the entities. So this is how we've structured it. On the presentation.
Thank you, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning again, HOD, CEOs of the different entities. Liba ahi kaofela ba mo Vaal, dumelang. My name is Lebogang.
Yeah, just a second. Ke lebetse one thing. I said use a different language. But there are others by Lord the mat. But we all know when they present in English, we've got the handsell, but the distributor. And then now when you have those handsell, don't just take it. If you are able to understand, understand. Then those who want, they will take them. So when you press 1, ke English, so there's no need. But if you press 2, ke Setswana le Sotho, then ga bolele ya translator in Setswana and Sotho. Then go press 3, ya go ba isiZulu and isiXhosa. So go press the 3. Now 4 ke Afrikaans, then go press 5, Shivenda and Xitsonga. So those are, you'll see when they give you those things, but don't just take them, because at the end you're going to return them. And then, and I agree you're going to comply, you bring them back. What's a take them, you'll see. So you just bring them back. Okay,
Okay, good morning once more. My name is Lebogang Seshabela. I'm going to take you through the performance for the department for the second quarter.
Audible. Do we hear Lamukwagir? Fix that mic,
Okay.
so that everybody can hear.
Lankutwa yanong. Okay. Ke a leboga. I'm going to start with the economic performance for the province in terms of how we performed, especially around the areas of employment. So for the second quarter, more South Africa, the economy it grew by 0.6%, but more Gauteng, it also grew again by 0.6%. Now, the unemployment rate, the province, it grew by 34.4%. When you compare it to quarter one, at least it grew by 0.1% because of in quarter one we were at 34.3%. So we have a little bit of growth for the quarter two performance. Now, what contributed to the gain in terms of employment? It's Ekurhuleni as well as Johannesburg. But then our challenges were under the non-metros as well as for Johannesburg. Those are the ones that made the unemployment rate to grow by 0.1%. Now that's under the performance for the economic performance. We'll go straight to the performance for the department in terms of how did we perform for quarter two. So we've got indicators For this quarter, we had a total of 20 indicators, and we only achieved 10 indicators out of the 20, and 10 were not achieved. There's 8 that were not reported, but I would explain when I go to the slide, yeah, the underperformance in terms of what are the reasons why we didn't have the reports for those indicators. Now, the department, it's got the entities as well. So we call ourselves a group, a GDED group, which is the department including all our entities. So when we're looking at what we have done for the quarter under review, we had a total of 91 indicators, and of those, 66 were achieved, and we are sitting at 73% achievement as a DED group. So we've got different programs in the department. So this slide, it indicates where the indicators were located. And we have under administration, which are the indicators that are implemented by financial management. All 3 of them were achieved. Enterprise development, where we've got our BBBE indicators, and 3 of them were not reported. And under business regulations and governance, which is our program 4, where we are looking at the implementation for our consumer affairs, Gauteng Liquor Board, and agency oversight and governance. We only have 1 indicator that was not achieved, and we're sitting at 86% achievement. Now, when we look at our last program, which is program 5, inclusive economy, they had 7 indicators that they were supposed to report on, and 1 was not achieved, but 5 were not reported. Now, as a department, we have GGT 2030. It's growing Gauteng together. And under the GGT 2030, we've got different priorities, and there's priorities that the department have aligned their indicators on. Now, as really the Department of Gauteng Economic Development, our key priority is that of economy, jobs, and infrastructure. So underneath, we've got the programs that we implemented or we have achieved under this priority. We are looking at the supplier invoices paid within 15 working days, and this indicator was achieved at 100%. Indicator, it means those SMMEs who provided service in quarter 2 for the department, we made it a point as a department, we pay them within 15 working days. You know, in most cases, SMMEs will just use their money for programs or projects that they do for the department, and then once they have performed what they were supposed to do, then they submit their invoices to the department, and that's what we actually did. We paid all of them within 15 working days. So that assists SMMEs to develop even more further so that they can be able to what? To apply for more jobs with government. We're also looking at procurement to women-owned businesses spent. Now we've got 40% as a target, and we've overachieved. We are sitting at 47%. Another thing that we are looking at, we're trying to re-empower basadi. So when we procure services, we also put into a focus on women, so that women also are covered in terms of the jobs that SMMEs are getting in the department. And then another one is also on training consumer on protection laws. We know we've got the Consumer Act. So it's got rules and regulations that are set for consumers in terms of how they are protected. So we don't just leave it there. We also provide training as well. And our target is nearly 25. We've trained about 30 SMMEs in this quarter. Now we're also looking at the Gauteng City Region Township broadband coverage. We are looking at coverage in terms of for broadband. So we have covered about 13 townships in this quarter, and our target was 10. Now we look at another priority, which is building a capable, ethical, and developmental state, and more Ribua. The two indicators, again, we've got our entities. So the department, it's overseeing the performance of the entities. So we also have a target in the department wherein we check in terms of the performance of the entities. Are we performing according to the way we had said we will perform? So really a compliance with the shareholders compact, the compliance thereof, we've done it according to the plan at 100%. And then the budget, I get the allocation, the entities, it's from the department. Because of the entities, our implementing wing. Again, we're looking at both Gauteng Enterprise Propeller, where it's looking at SMME development. They are assisting SME financially and non-financially. So we had, the spend thereof was at 109%, and our target was 95%, and we've achieved that. Renali GLB, Gauteng Liquor Board. On collection of the revenue or from liquor regulation processes. The liquor regulation processes, we know that like our shebins, they are supposed to renew their license on an annual basis. Now those resources, they are recorded in terms of how much has been generated for a particular quarter. And those revenues, they are used for more projects to be implemented in the province. Now, in terms of the work that we do as a department, we are audited at the end of the financial year to check as to whether we've done things accordingly, and we are able to prove that whatever that we say we have done is been done accordingly. So AG will come and audit the reports that we have provided. So for the 2022-23, the department has received a clean audit. And then Harisheba happy in terms of the consumers. We've got, you know, as consumers, you can complain in terms of the services that are provided by, like for argument's sake, your dealerships, you go and buy a car and then you have a complaint. You come to our offices at 56 Elof Street and lay a complaint. So those cases, we have a consumer court where the cases are adjudicated. So with all the cases that we had in quarter one, they've been adjudicated as planned. And we are also focusing on the LGBTQI+ workshops. We had one workshop that we had to conduct in this quarter, and it was conducted as planned. Now, like I said in my first, my executive summary, that we've got indicators that we did not achieve. The next slides will be talking to those that we didn't achieve. On performance, yeah, the entities, we've got with entities, as much as the department has an annual performance plan, a plan for the year, the entities also, they've got plans in terms of what is it that they're going to be doing. We also monitor that as a department, and for the quarter, we were supposed to have sitting at 95% in terms of what we had planned for. but we have achieved 79% of the 95% in terms of the implementations of the plans that are in the APPs of the entities. And the challenges were that in some of the investment facilities revenue generated from events hosted were delayed. We're looking at the delay on the implementation of business development incubation program, and also what was a challenge was also delays in the appointment of the service provider. But then the entities have put a catch-up plan in terms of what is it that they're going to be doing to ensure that what was not achieved in Q2, it is achieved in Q3 together with the targets for Q3. So the department will ensure that they monitor the catch-up plan on a monthly basis to ensure that it is achieved by the end of the quarter. We also had a target on the creation of jobs for township economic programs. The target was 12,500, but we've only achieved jobs steadying 1,220. And this was because of the delays in the transfer of funds to our delivery partners. But we are going to ensure as a department that the funds are disbursed accordingly so that we can also catch up in terms of what was supposed to have done in Q2. Like the HOD has alluded, that the Masha will come and tell us in terms of the projects that are being done under the Township Economic Program. As a department, we also have indicators for triple BEE. I care now we are the Department of Economic Development. So we've got targets on triple BEE, but they are not targets for the department only. These are also targets for the province, the entire province, all the departments in Gauteng. However, we had a challenge in this year in terms of collecting data or collecting the reports from other sister departments. That's why we are saying that these indicators, it's 8 in total. We did not receive the reports, so we didn't achieve all these 8 targets on triple BEE. Now, when we look at our financial indicator performance, on the issues around youth, issues around female, people with disability, SMEs, TER, and as well as triple BEE. We have as a department the targets that are set in terms of our financial key indicators, and we have achieved them according to the way they are legislated, with the exception of people with disability. The target was 5, but the department achieved 3. And in terms of our financial spend, we are sitting at 103% performance. I think the CFO will take us through in terms of the areas of performance for the department. With what we have done, we also have an area of GOD. GOD, we need to check, at the end of the quarter, we have to check on the work that we did. Did we cover recovery basadi, recovery youth, recovery people with disability, recovery senior citizens? So this slide, the work that we did, or the areas that we covered, and we did, yes, as a department and entities, we've covered women, women empowerment engagement in corridors, and we've reached over 1,000 women, and we've also had 5 women entrepreneur awards, and we have awarded kitchen renovations to the value of 100,000. We have 3 females who receive support in a form of renovations and mobile kitchens. I guess this is the work mostly that is done by the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller on SMEs development. So that's the areas that we have covered. On youth, we had 12 outreach workshops. We have 9 youth who received support on renovations and mobile kitchens through special projects. And we have 72 youth who benefited on the motorcycle learners and drivers license. The area Ntate Masha who will cover it. And we also had a disability workshop where we educated our disabled people on the alcohol consumptions. Our senior citizens. We had several workshops as well so that we can inform the senior citizens in terms of the services that we offer as a department. I'll end here, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me allow Ntate Masha just to zoom into Val. Ntate Masha.
Dumelang. Le kae? Leangwa. Dumelang. Le kae? Oh, I can maybe I'll concentrate because, all right. Thanks, Chairperson and honorable members. Good morning once again, Jody and colleagues. I'm just going to quickly run through some of the projects that we implement more city. But before I start, maybe just a few things, just to maybe try or explain some of the things in terms of or and all of that. One is that as HOD, Nanze, I introduce different agencies. So in the department, Rona in the department, design the programs, implement the programs that already benefit the SMMEs. Mara refunded SMMEs directly in the department. So colleagues about later on from GP, but lagataba funding. Rona in the department, rally programs that are implementing, Mara are funded as well. And then the projects that Rona, most of them are demand driven. So they are advertised everywhere. We are going community. We engage different groups in the community because we can only implement the programs more than interest or more to be interested in some of the programs.
Ntate Masha, o jwang o clear ga bolela or gona le equal moko ne? I'm struggling. Can you try a bit clearer? There is an echo that is not clear. Or maybe give him another mic.
Is it better? Eh? Okay. Thanks. So I was explain a fellow Rona in the department, redesign the programs and then implement eventually benefit the SMMEs, right? So one of the difference between Rona in terms of the way we and then also our agencies in terms of the way we work. So Rona, one thing, for example, that we don't do funding. We don't fund SMMEs directly. The money that is allocated to us as a budget, we put it into programs and then we implement those programs, right? So it means for our now or no, I need assistance. It can't be on funding because the funding is done by our agencies. So I just wanted to also clarify that. We also go into different townships. We engage different groups in our communities to basically introduce some of the opportunities. Most of our call, or at least when we introduce the programs, we use all the media platforms. We are on social media, we are on Facebook, on Twitter. We advertise all the opportunities for young people in our communities to express interest. And then once people have expressed interest, we will then go there and working with the organized structures, assist them as well. We also work through partnerships, right? Partnerships. So we've got different partnerships where they are helping us in terms of implementation. Renality partnership, for example, Uber Eats, Renality partnership with Coca-Cola South Africa, take a lot, many private sector entities, so that we're going to or implement it because arena enough budget to cover everything that we want to do. So we also work through partnerships as well. So I think I wanted just to emphasize those few points as well before I get into the presentation. So there are a few areas of work that we are focusing on, or programs that we are implementing in the townships across the province, of course, including Limpopo City. And just as an example, we've got a program that we're implementing around township retail, where we are assisting people who run shops in the township with support and. So that is a very important point just to make. But we are also implementing programs in the broader ICT broadband space, where we are helping young people and connecting them to opportunities in the ICT space, especially those who want to, for example, be technicians in this space, because through the partners that we have, we are also able to assist them with training, and we connect them to these opportunities also. As you know, our economy has shifted. We are now looking at the different types of jobs in the market than what were used to when we were growing up. So we've got what we call gig economy opportunities in the market, and this is one of the areas where we are investing a lot of money as well. We also have a program called Township Infill Residential, where we are supporting people who want to develop their back rooms into rental opportunities. We assist them as well. We also support the taxi industry in our economy. We also have a program. We've been to different townships in Sidibeng. What we do in terms of our manufacturing is that we in what we call enterprise and supply development. So we are looking for SMMEs that have products in the townships, and they need assistance in terms of either solving, testing the products, and also commercializing their products. Because as you know, if you've got a very good product, but it has not been tested, it's not branded properly, you will never really enter the market, right? So that's some of the support that we are doing. So we've been to different townships around Sidibeng as well, engaging different SMMEs who are working in this space and have different products that they want to commercialize also. We also look at coming up with solutions in terms of the energy space. As you know, that it's an opportunity and a challenge in our communities. We also look at working with our colleagues in the province on how do we support people that are in the waste space, and not just the waste in terms of collecting it and living it, but how do you convert it into products as well, and the creative economy in terms of people who are creative and looking for opportunities. So these are some of the focus areas that in the township that we are implementing. And I'll just be specific. So in terms of Sidibeng, we've looked at different projects and say, but what are the things that we can do where? So this is just an example of how we will, for example, target based on demand that has been expressed in those townships. So on projects like infill residential, basically this one, when somebody can space say enough in my yard, right? Can I develop backyard rooms for me to rent and generate additional income? So that's what it means, basically, this project. So we've done it very well in other areas, in Tembisa, Mamelodi, but in Sidibeng, we haven't necessarily gotten much in terms of interest, and that's the area that we want to activate as well. On township retail, these are the townships that we've already covered in terms of township retail. We've got about 3 associations that we are already working with in Sidibeng, and I'll come to some of the details later as I present. And then on the taxi economy, here we're also looking at the last mile delivery. The last mile as in people who want to, get into the space of delivering goods. That's why it's called last mile. Whether it's through the Kuta or through the Baki into final clients in the townships or around as well. The other one, the opportunities that I spoke about in terms of ICT-related opportunities. So those are the townships that I identified, IRM hubs in Dinokeng, and then manufacturing in terms of our enterprise and supply development program. Just to try and be specific in terms of, so in Sidibeng, we've got about 2,000 or so retailers that are part of the program. In general, across the province, we've got 20,000 SMM township retailers at different levels that are in the program, and we're looking at supporting them. We've already trained about 210 entrepreneurs as part of the program around Sidibeng, but also 50 shops that have been refurbished. Our plan is that in the next 6 months or so, we want to look at refurbishing about 300 of shops in the region. We've also had a lot of people that have approached us saying that they now have shops that are available and they need us to come and assist, and we're going to be assisting those in terms of at least making sure that they get their jobs operational. So those are some of the things that we're doing in terms of retail. So as I mentioned, we already have 3 associations that are in the region that are already part of the program in terms of working with us as well. And then on the township panel beating hub, so this one we've struggled a bit in terms of getting it going. However, the plan is that given the fact that there are a lot of opportunities in the region, so if you go to Dinokeng, for example, and other townships, there are a lot of what we call informal mechanics, or what is called bush mechanics, right? So the plan here was that we will identify about 30 of these people, and then we will obviously start with training them. The intention is to get them to a point where they are accredited, they are certified, and they can actually be supported to enter the formal market, right? But we've struggled a bit with processes. I think it's something that we will try and accelerate in solving some of the challenges that we've had in terms of getting funding for it, but also getting service providers to assist us in terms of getting this going. So it is a priority, definitely, given the fact that automotive is quite alive and well in the region. So that's one area that I think we need to be able to sort out as well. In terms of the taxi economy nodes, so there is one area around working with the municipality around Mfuleni, where we're looking at assisting the association in terms of setting up a node. And I think, as you know, with issues around zoning and allocation of properties, that has always been an issue. So we are working to basically make sure that we finalize this problem in terms of the area as well around Sidibeng. On the township last mile, so here we've really made a lot of progress elsewhere, but as I mentioned, so this program is also demand driven, right? So what happens is that if you go into our social media now, you'll find that we issue calls, we invite young people to express interest if they're interested in the last mile. And then once they've done that, we assist them in terms of licensing, we assist them in terms of contracts as well in the market. As I mentioned earlier, we've got big partnerships with your Take-A-Lot, your Uber, and all of that. So people who are interested in the last mile, we are able to assist them. We have not necessarily gotten much interest in terms of Sidibeng. I think the last group that we've had is from Orange Farm, about 250 young people that we are supporting there. But in Sidibeng, we've not necessarily gotten much in terms of interest around the last mile, which is strange, given the fact that the barriers for entry, of course, you still need to be trained, you still need to get a license, which is what we are resolving as a province. In the last month, between ourselves and the Department of Transport, we issued a call for young people in our province who need learner's license and licenses. So I don't know how many of you applied for that, because that then helps us, because when we come and say you are interested in the last mile or driver for the Guta, it's easy for us to support you as well. So I hope that some of you have applied for that support in terms of getting learner's license, because to get into this space, you definitely must have a learner's license, or a license for you to be able to drive on our roads. We've got partnerships, we've got contracts already, as I mentioned, with Uber, would take a lot. What we're looking for is young people who are interested, who either they've got licenses at motorbike. If not, they must be prepared to actually get the licenses for them to enter into this space. So that is the work that we're doing. We are targeting certain townships, but as I mentioned, we haven't necessarily succeeded in getting young people expressing interest because it is a demand-driven approach. So meaning but no, I'm interested. So we don't want to impose these things on people. People must come and say, hey, I'm interested in this thing. How do you help me to get in as well? So I think those are some of the things that I wanted to mention. And on the broadband, I think we've identified Tsepiso as one of the townships where we've got where he lives. What we are doing at the moment is obviously trying to raise funds so that we can be able to invest in that infrastructure rollout. And this is very important in terms of creating jobs, but also connecting households in terms of broadband and internet and all of that, because a lot of the opportunities we're talking about are now available digitally as well. So on the cell phone repair program, just to mention that currently we've got 75 young people that are being trained at Soltsotetsi Hall, Soltsotetsi, that are being trained. I think some of them are going to go for exams very soon. So the intention of this program is to basically equip young people, be able to train them and certify them so they can actually earn money on their own. So it means they can actually start their journey in terms of entrepreneurship. So we've got that group at Soltsotetsi, about 75 youth from Sidibeng that we are already empowering. They're going to write exams, and we're going to start assisting them with other things. What we also do is that when they finish, we assist them with tools of trade. They register their businesses. They can actually also start earning an income. Of course, there will be those who will say, "No, I need a job," but the intention is not to train people to get a job. It's to train people so they can stand on their own and earn money on their own, because that's what we need in our economy, right? So that's the program that we're doing. Those 75 young people, once they're finished, we'll assist them with tools of trade so that they can start working and also earning an income in terms of the community where they live as well. Yeah, so these were just the numbers. So when we advertised, these were the applications in terms of numbers, right? And then of course, there's always a criteria in terms of, but in this one, it's mainly a metric and comprehension of numbers. It's not really that difficult. And then you are able to start with the program. And then, as I mentioned, 76 young people that are enrolled are already at the Soltsotetsi that are working, and they will be starting with their exams also as well. So we do believe these are some of the interventions that we want to see an increase in our communities. We want people to stand on their own, start earning money on their own, but also those that are equipped, they can then create opportunities for other young people in our communities. So I think, so this is, in terms of, we also have what we call, as I mentioned earlier, we're also looking for products. We're looking for SMMEs in the township that are producing things that can be sold. Because for us to really grow our economy, we need to produce things. So we've been to these areas in terms of engaging different groups in the region. So there's, of course, Lakeside Community Hall, Ratanda Multipurpose Hall, Devon, and Fishcade, in terms of engaging at different groups in terms of what they have so that we can put them into a program already. So as a province, we've got what you call 200 priority products. So the intention is that as we support these entrepreneurs in our communities and we are helping them to commercialize their products, we'll also be able to help them to connect them to market opportunities as well. So I think in the main, those are the things that we wanted to just share an update in terms of the work that we're doing in the region. And yeah, so we've also announced a fund, Kasi Umnoto Fund. I'm sure CEO probably will talk about it. focusing mainly on township, people in the township, but in the retail space. So we can we'll also share details with you around the fund. It's already available. It started on the 1st of November in terms of taking applications. But it's a loan fund. So we don't do grants also, just to be clear as well. So it's a loan fund. So if you are interested in that fund, we can give you information in terms of how you can also send through your application as well. So I thank you for.
Thank you very much. Let me now, I think they will just follow that way. I don't know how HOD you have structured that. They will just make presentations, and then at the end we are noting. At the end, then we interact with those presentations. And I can see now that's the GEP. All right.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members, and colleagues and members of the community of the Vaal. This is the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller Q2 performance. Maybe just by background, the role for the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller is mainly to support small businesses. We do this generally through loans that we pay, that we lend to individuals and they pay over time, or we do it through what we call business development support, where we pay for training initiatives, marketing, equipment. Those grants are typically up to 50,000 rands, and we have what we call an informal trader grant. Actually, in that grant, here in the Vaal, there are 24 people who qualified for it. The grants 68 and business development support 107. And I know, maybe to preempt some of the questions that typically come from the members on, guys, if you're saying you're meeting your targets, why is there no impact? The reality is that we have budget constraints, and those typically have a limit on what you can do. So that's why the numbers are basically what they are. But really, our performance is that. So on Q2, we had 13 targets. Out of that, we achieved, we had 14, we achieved 13, which represented 13%. There's one target which we didn't meet, which is percentage of sponsorship spent on the LGBTI plus community. Okay, I think there's a medical emergency at the back. Okay, it's one person, but they are attended to, Chair.
Yeah, they will attend to it. Just continue.
Thank you, Chair. On the achievement of the objectives, if you look basically where we are on the some of the procurement targets, we've generally met all of them on the designated groups. But generally, our goods and services budget is not much, it's less than 10 million rands, and there's only one that we didn't meet, and this we're gonna meet before the end of the financial year. Then coming to the actual program, which is the investment program, we've overachieved on this program in the first 2 months of the year, and the reason why we overachieved is that we had a budget which was fairly small, which we effectively dispersed all of it in the first quarter of the year. We then had money which were collections, which we got in the previous year and the current financial year that we used, but we've then subsequently had readjustment from the provincial government, DED and Treasury, that is allowing us to now complete beginning of the year. So the significance of this, Chair and members, is that we're demonstrating we have the capability as GEP to disperse funds, and these funds are actually reaching the entrepreneurs. These are, again, some of the targets which were about commitments on the various programs. Again, we've overachieved them. If it wasn't for the readjustment, by now we would have stopped considering new applications, which at a point when we're waiting for the funds, we actually had to stop. We then talk about resource mobilization, which is partnerships. Marsha here talked about partnerships, which we've done. We put together what is called a Township Economy Partnership Fund with the ITC, 200 million from the Gauteng province, 200 million from ITC, and then later 100 million from SASME, which is also an entity that funds small businesses. We then leverage those monies through other parties, and again, we've met that target. Most of the money has been dispersed. We had one fund called Automotive Fund, which has largely been based in townships in the Katoras region. We put 50 million, they put 50 million. So that was one of the last partnerships that we've done. So about 500 million effectively has been put into the market. And then with that, we leveraged another amount of money because a lot of these partners came with theirs. So in essence, with 250 million, we got to about 700 million, which is going to various townships in Gauteng. So that's basically, in terms of the budget, we basically were at 51% as at end of the quarter, which is almost exactly on the mark because we're half year. But as I said, there are other areas like partnerships where we hadn't dispersed as much, but in some of the areas we actually had overspent. So I've given a bit of the sense of what are the disbursements we've done here. But outside, we have colleagues from marketing. Oscar is here, and Silo is the regional manager. So if there are people who have actual applications that they have submitted to us, at the end of this, there will be colleagues where we can answer to your questions. But in terms of performance, we're basically, for quarter two, we're at 93%. Thank you, Chair.
So you'll continue the next one.
Thank you. So this is the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency performance. On these targets that we have here, part of what doesn't show is are some of the entities under us that have not yet fully designated on their own, some of the special economic zones where the CEOs have been introduced, and one of them is in the Val. Actually, last week, we were with mayors and municipal managers of the municipality where we're opening an office that the Val has done. And in that office, we're bringing together various government entities to facilitate what's going to be one of the biggest developments in the Val, a property development, industry, and many others, but Xola goes into detail on some of those. So in the Val, there is a specific project that's worth a couple of billions. Already Citibank has committed 1.4 billion as one of their equity equivalent programs. Overall, the performance is at 71% for the business and its subsidiaries. Holdings is basically the head office. On head office, there's a couple of targets which were not met. Two of them were on the trade and investment side, which was facilitation, but those will subsequently again be met in the third quarter because there are already investors that we've brought on board. But interestingly for us, one of the areas which has been a key area of growth has been the business process outsourcing in the province, where we've seen a little bit more. There was a conference by the business process outsourcing sector last week, which we participated in, and there's a couple of entities that have indicated that they have expansion plans in Gauteng. So these targets are being met. AITC has met its targets. A lot of these are training of artisans, incubation of entrepreneurs, similar to the Innovation Hub. Then Constitution Hill, there are 2 targets there that have not been met. So overall, for the quarter, this is where, the performance has been. On the head office ones, as I mentioned, the ones on trade and investment, the 2 that have not been met. And then on the infrastructure projects, and here this was about the number of subcontracting entities. This is impacted by different things. One, some of our big infrastructure projects like the Visitors Center have had delays. Actually, there's a process to cancel one of them. That impacts naturally on how many then subcontractors we can have. And we are now starting the process for the industrial hubs. But one of the things, again, that's contributing to further delays is Treasury and their cost containment measures, where they effectively have stopped all infrastructure projects except if approved by the Treasury. So we go then into detail here about some of these projects where there are follow-ups. KEMSA is one of those projects, and Crystal Partners, where the actual investments are going to come from and the actual rent values that are coming out of them. So these are not just general projects. We actually, end of this month, will be having, as a province, led by the Premier, engagement with the investors who had made several commitments on what they're going to do in the province to give feedback on what has been done. We've been working with those that are based in Gauteng. AITC, this is a breakdown of some of the achievements that have been done. As I said, there's upskilling of individuals, training of artisans, and the revenue, because we also look at how much revenue some of the SMEs we are training are getting. The targets for now are still a bit low, but we want to increase this so that we can show a little bit more impact. This is the Innovation Hub. These are incubated companies. These are targets that have been achieved. And here is the Constitution Hill. The Hill has been doing relatively well on its markets, which are creating market access for various small businesses. These are typically happening every month. There are events that take place. But what for years has also impacted a bit negatively on the entities, the non-completion of the Visitor Center, which is going to bring more numbers into the Hill, but we are looking at where we are. And these are the areas where there's been non-performance at this stage. This is a breakdown of the jobs in terms of the target that we have in the annual report. So that's basically where the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency is. Our focus is investments that actually have impact. In the past 6 months, we've had significant trade initiatives hosted here in Gauteng. We had BRICS, and during BRICS, we brought, we worked with BRICS to bring about 60-odd buyers. We're looking at commodities that they can buy in South Africa, because we're looking at increasing exports. We did that with AGOA. There were 23 buyers that came here, and we matched them with businesses where we're looking at what we can do. And with BRICS, we are basically a net importer, so there's a lot of scope for us to sell in those countries. Within AGOA, it's also fairly underutilized. I mean, out of 1,800 lines of goods and services, well, goods mainly that are duty-free, there's only about 140 plus that we are exporting as South Africa. So there's still a lot of scope in developing of the exports. So some of our export programs have been looking at that, but we've also focused on the art sector and the business process outsourcing sectors, because they are some of those that are creating jobs. But that would be the end, Chair, on the performance for the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency. Thank you.
GTA. Which one is GTA?
It's still morning, isn't it? Sanibonani. Molweni. Siyaphila ninjani mtase? Dumelang. Abshen. Goeiemorgen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, the members of the legislature, the Department of GDED, HOD and his team. I'm recognizing you, Advocate Peter Hall. I am to recognize the heads of the entities of the department, the communities that are honoring and gracing us at this meeting this morning, because without you, we cannot be where we are today. So we are because of you. Good morning. I'm not gonna take a lot of time because I think we are talking as the GTA with people that know the work of the GTA. So we're gonna zoom into exactly what we did in Q2 because that's what we've been asked to do. Those that can see the slide, it just talks to our mandate, what the GTA is supposed to do. Our vision is to position Gauteng as a globally competitive destination of choice again. That is our vision. And our mission is to promote, develop, coordinate, and facilitate sustainable tourism in the Gauteng city. That is us. Of course, we've got our mandates. I'm just gonna browse through this, race through these slides up until I deal with exactly what the business we are here for today. This is just how the GTA is configured internally. We've got 3 programs though at the moment, and the organization is going through some business review process. However, that has not stopped us from implementing the work of government. In this presentation, honorable members, we also try to give you information.
Avoid abbreviations.
Oh, I apologize. I've been told to avoid abbreviations. So GTA is Gauteng Tourism Authority. I'm not sure if there's another acronym that or abbreviation I have used. I was still saying that honorable members and colleagues, we have also tried in the slides to actually provide some report or progress in terms of the implementation of the 5-year term, in terms of the administration. And I think we are well on our way to do that. And we will give a comprehensive report when we provide the annual report in the next financial year. So what did we do as the Gauteng Tourism Authority in Q2 of this financial year? We actually have got 19 key performance indicators that are planned by the authority for the current financial year. 7 of these indicators were due for reporting in Q2, and out of that we achieved 5, which is a total of 71%. I will now then go through what we achieved and what we did not achieve. Projects that have not been achieved are actually in the destination marketing, which is one of our core businesses, and I think the 50% that was achieved is also on destination planning, which is also one of our core businesses. In terms of what we achieved as the entity, the indicator number of domestic tourism seasonal sales campaign implemented, we had 1 target that we needed to achieve in Q2, and we have achieved that target. In fact, we have overachieved that target, and we hereby then provide the reasons for that deviation, and we say we also did leisure tourism drive to promote government-owned heritage sites, and we also implemented domestic marketing drive, and all those that we list in here. So we have overachieved on that target. The next target in this program is number of international business events bids submitted. The annual target is 15. Q2, we're supposed to achieve 4, and we have achieved the 4 targets. Number of events hosted in townships Annually, the target is 8. In quarter 2, we were supposed to implement 2, and we have achieved the 2 targets for quarter 2. Here is the target that has given us a bit of a challenge, and those that work in construction or construction-related work would understand that there's a lot of preparation that takes place before projects like that can be implemented. And I think that's where we were hamstrung as the Gauteng Tourism Authority, where we thought that we would go to Citibank and actually implement the targets that we needed to achieve in quarter 2. And because there was a lot of groundwork that needed to happen, for instance, we needed to engage the local businesses in terms of the work that needed to happen there. We needed to also engage with the communities. We also needed to engage with the local municipalities, and that took us a while, because imagine if you must engage the 21 families that were affected by the Sharpeville massacres, because that is one of the areas where the work is going to be done to rejuvenate the site, the memorial site. And so we needed to do that groundwork, and that groundwork therefore could not be done in quarter 2, but I'm happy to announce that that work has now been done. In fact, the last engagement with the families took place last week, the communities, and so the other thing that needed to happen when we were assessing how do we implement the projects with the locals was to assess whether there was sufficient skills in terms of the work that needed to be done, because it is infrastructure project. It is sometimes construction work. And we then realized that the local communities did not have all the necessary skills. As a result, the Gauteng Tourism Authority has now appointed 3 service providers to actually work with the local communities, including sourcing materials to do the work from the local communities. And those projects are the Sharpeville Pelindaba Memorial Heritage, Sharpeville Memorial Garden Heritage, the Soweto Mobile Containers Motorsport, Orange Farm, Nelson Mandela Yard, Orlando Towers Turnstile, Orlando Towers Signage Project, branding of Melville refuse bins, and the Melville Tourism Hub. And I think in a letter from the department, we were asked to zoom into exactly what jobs we've created and what projects we've actually undertaken in quarter 2 in Citibank in particular. And those projects, as I'm saying, have not been achieved, and those are the signage, which is going to be our 4th project. However, as I'm saying, a service provider has now been appointed for that work, the Pelindaba Memorial and the Memorial Garden of Heritage. And the 3 service providers that have been appointed will do that work during this quarter, and the remaining 5 projects are also on track to be achieved during quarter 4 before the end of the financial year. We now move back to where we've achieved. A number of tourism enterprises benefited capacity building programs. That is part of our work to ensure that we develop the SMMEs, and we're saying in terms of the annual target, it's 150 for the year, and we're meant to achieve 60 of these training interventions or initiatives during the quarter, and we have overachieved because we now have achieved 230, and we give reasons. Indicator number of SMMEs provided with access to markets, very important. Annual target is 150, and we were meant to then achieve 50 during the quarter we're reporting on, and we have achieved 52, which means that we've slightly overachieved again on that target. One of the other targets that were not achieved is the number of SMMEs participated in business development incubator program. We have not achieved this project, this target for the quarter. It's 30 for the year and 10 for quarter 2. And as we explained, we have not achieved it. And we also provide a mitigation plan to say that Airbnb superhosts, trainers and mentors have started incubating processes based on identified needs coming out of the 3 webinars to be held in quarter 3. And we are now in quarter 3, so we are working to catch up on the implementation of this target. I'm not going to get into detail of the operation plans implementation. However, we must also report on that. In the first indicator, the annual target is 8, and the indicator is a number of business events supported, and we are reporting on Q2. We were supposed to achieve 9, and we've achieved the 9. The target rand value generated through support events, 1 billion is the annual target, and we did not have a target for the second quarter, and we are well on our way to achieve the 1 billion in the year. Rand value of business facilitated for SMMEs through marketing projects, 25 billion, that is the annual target, and in Q2 we actually achieved 12.6 million. I don't think I'm going to just spend a lot of time on these slides. Number of trade platforms leveraging high growth sectors, annual target is 5. We achieved 1, which was supposed to be achieved, and we are well on our way to achieve the 5. Number of site inspection conducted, 8 is the annual target. We achieved 3, which was the quarterly target. Number of GPG, which is the province-owned business events supported. Annual target is 4, and we have achieved the 1 that was meant to be achieved, and we are well on our way to achieve the rest of the 4 for the financial year. If we continue on the ops plans achievements, number of tour guides, you know that we do register tour guides. And in the current business review, we're actually looking at what else does the Act give us authority to do, and because we would like to cover all the work that is required of us as the Gauteng Tourism Authority. So the number of tour guides to be registered, 71 for the year. We've done 60, and the variance is 11. Number of tour guides trained. We needed to train 30, and we've trained 30. Number of communities benefited on skills. We needed to do the 100 trainings or training sessions, and we have done so. Establishment of norms and standards. We needed to engage the National Department of Tourism, and that engagement has not happened, not yet. Number of business referrals. For funding support, we needed to support 15 to our sister entity, Gauteng Enterprise Propeller. Target for the year is 10, and we did forward 5 or refer 5. So then, as you know, colleagues, honorable members, when you are to undertake any tasks, sometimes there's things that are called risks, and sometimes we call them challenges. And now we're going to actually, because these are the things that made us, and sometimes make us not to achieve exactly what we committed to achieve on. And so we have experienced these challenges in Q1 and in Q2, and in particular in Q2. We are struggling, and I think we're not the only ones that are struggling with limited resources. The Gauteng Tourism Authority is actually operating on an interim structure. However, I think I've mentioned that we are undergoing a business review process, which will also look at organizational design. It is also looking at what the Act is saying we must comprehensively do, and one of the things that the Act recommends and that this business review is going to be looking at and taking it to the board is the development of the National Development Fund, which will actually make us be able to gain some revenue from the other sources in the market. Destination marketing program is underfunded, and the authority therefore is unable to drive sales and visitations to the province, and it is very important for us to be able to drive sales. We've got the Western Cape province, we've got KZN, but we would like to, as the Gauteng province, to come as #1 in terms of tourism and in terms of visitation. There's no media budget, which then hamstrings us in terms of just marketing the province and what it has to offer. There's basically, I think the main message here is that financially, even though we are a going concern, financially we are constrained and we're trying to stretch the rand and do as much as we can with the little that we have. If you look at the last point on the destination and management of tourism assets, that also involves the TISH projects. And that is the reason, it's partly one of the reasons why we needed to then procure the 3 service providers, because it is not our core business to actually deal with maintenance of buildings, painting, and all that work that we need to do in that TISH unachieved projects. Some more of the challenges, there's a need for safety and compliance of tourism services and destinations. I think we cannot overemphasize that. I would also not go to a country where there's known crime or just lack of safety. And so we've got to project and position our country as being safe for the tourist and the visitor. Possible misalignment of certain pockets of support with tourism products, lack of database management systems for products and amenities. And I think at the moment we rely on Statistics South Africa and we rely on the South African tourism. CFO, you will correct me if I didn't represent you well on your financial slide. Here we're trying to just present an overview of how we spent during the quarter. On the compensation of employees, we have expanded 52% of the total budget. Goods and services, we are currently at 93%, or we were at 93% in quarter. No, this is actual spend from start of the year, so it's year to date. And the organization as a whole has also expended 75% for the year. Of course, I mentioned earlier that we operate within a space of risk. Every time you do work or a project, even if you're gonna get married, you know that you may have to think about, if you're looking for an outside wedding, you may have to contend with the weather. So we also have to contend and mitigate the level of risks to an acceptable level when we do our work as government. The cost containment prescripts by the National Treasury imposed on us seems to be a little bit of a challenge in terms of the money that we're getting from government. In fact, you are aware that in terms of getting the money, we are more getting budget cuts in more than getting more money from the fiscus. Value generated through tourism uptake. The risk there is lack of a weak marketing strategy, and I think I have already spoken to that, to say that we would like to have Gauteng actually coming as #1 destination. Weak partnerships uptake due to poor reputation of the Gauteng Tourism Agency, which is something that we're saying we've got a big project where we are trying to actually put our ducks in a row, including looking at our reputation and our image. I've already spoken about the competitive offerings of KZN and the Western Cape that are currently preferred, and through those marketing strategies and the money, would like to actually position ourselves as #1. I'm not gonna bore you with risks, because risks are actually not something that is very nice. Then we've got, and this is where we talk about the statistics and the data, where I was saying we're relying on the South African tourism and the Department of its Southern, and Statistics Department. Here we're trying to demonstrate that the tourism industry is actually in an upward trajectory again after being affected by COVID. We know that when the COVID hit, the countries shut down, including our own country, went on a lockdown. That severely impacted the tourism sector. But we are saying in quarter 3, we are seeing that, in quarter 2, we're seeing that we are actually recovering. And there are pockets in the world that have recovered fully, and others, including Africa, by the way, is recovering. So in the first quarter of 2023, international arrivals surged to 80% pre-pandemic levels. So you can see that we actually are recovering faster than we thought, and these are good news. However, the Tourism World Organization advises that the industry must stay vigilant. You know that anything can affect us, can impact us, so we must always be on the lookout. Between January and July 2023, which is this financial year, there were 4.8 arrivals, marking a substantial of 70.6 surge compared to the corresponding period in the prior year. So we're even growing much better than the last year, which is the 2021-2022 financial year. Meanwhile, arrivals from Africa's air markets reached 136,000, representing a 42.1% uptick. So as we're saying, these slides just are trying to demonstrate that we are on a recovery trajectory, and some countries and some markets may be faster than the others. In concluding, we are saying as the GTA, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, that in trying to respond to the challenges that we have highlighted earlier in the slides, the authority is trying to explore other avenues to generate additional funding and additional revenue. And I have mentioned that through the review process, we're looking at what else and where else can we get revenue and empowered by the Act. And one of the things that we've identified, or areas we've identified, is the National Development Fund that the authority had not taken advantage of. The current business review is aimed to streamline and align the work of the authority internally. So we're busy with the strategy, we're busy with the configuration of the organization in terms of the structure, the process maps, and everything. So we're pulling everything together so that we are poised to deliver in our future plans. Empowered by the Act, the Business Review has recommended the National Development Fund, which I've already mentioned, and we're saying lastly, not only has the GTA, which is the Gauteng Tourism Authority, operational and development budget decreased by more than 17% over the past 7 years, but the agency has not been able to fill over 23% of our vacancies. And we think that through the process of a review, we will actually add, but we will need resources. But we have also deliberately put the filling of the vacancies, because it makes no sense to say we are going through an organizational review process, but we're filling existing posts. We have prioritized positions that needed to be filled: the company secretary, the CFO, executive in the CEO's office, and I can't remember the fourth one. So those have been filled and are being filled. With those words, I thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the Gauteng Tourist Authority. Re try go avoid the abbreviation so that let's see which one is presenting. Now we're going to call Gauteng Gambling Board. So others are interested in gambling, so they're going to make a presentation. Gauteng Gambling Board.
Propeller. Good afternoon. My name is Masakona Mushapo. I work for the Gauteng Gambling Board, and I'm here to present our Q2 report. But from what the chairperson has alluded to, I am tempted to take just a few minutes to explain to the stakeholders what Gauteng Gambling Board does. The Gauteng Gambling Board, it's an entity of the Gauteng provincial government. It reports to the Department of Economic Development. its task is to regulate gambling in the province. In us regulating gambling, we ensure that there is a fair and transparent way of punters that are interested in gambling. Our vision as it stands, it says we want to be a leading regulator in the province. As the gambling board, we issue license to established entities that are looking at practicing or operating a gambling outlet. As I'm talking to you now, we have licensed 754 outlets since its inception, and then we are currently want to license 9 bingos across the province. These bingos will operate as semi-casinos to the benefit of the serving areas with regard to the jobs that will be created at those outlets. Chair, in the next quarter, we will be having public hearings wherein the applicants will be issued with the license to operate. We anticipate that those 9 bingos, which 2 will be within the Vaal regions, will create more than 270 direct jobs. Also, by virtue that we are the second contributor towards the fiscus, with our annual revenue, the previous one was at 1.2 billion to the fiscus. That will help the socio-economic development of the province. Furthermore, there are 2 programs that we are doing that will be of benefit to the community and also the stakeholders here. We have a corporate social investment which targets NPOs that are doing work in the health, education, arts and culture. We encourage those NGOs to submit proposal, and we offer a grant funding with regard to that, because those ideas or project ideas needs to make sure that they create a difference in the community. We also have what we call the Sports Development Fund. A Sports Development Fund, we encourage all those who are dealing with sports development to be able to come to us and apply for us to be able to bridge the gap with regard to the sports development facilities. As I'm speaking to you now, there is Tembeni Primary School that has been afforded a combi court that includes all the multiple sporting activities happening around the Vaal. That was just my introduction for you to understand what we do. I'll go straight to the performance. In the quarter 2, we had 9 targets. We achieved 8 targets. We didn't achieve 1 target. And that target, it was a clean audit target. However, we received an unqualified audit with opinion. One of the targets that was achieved is the percentage of supplier payments paid within 15 days. This is one of the critical things for the benefit of the SMMEs. We are saying if we have procured through you, we must make sure that we pay you within 15 days after you have received the invoice or the service. We have also looked in quarter 2, the gambling license application received and processed within 150 days. 150 days, it's more than 3 months. So we have managed to receive those applications, including for the bingos. On this one, I'll also want to implore on you, stakeholders and community. We have issued 43 bookmakers licenses for them to operate. They are spread all over the Gauteng province, but definitely sure we have more than 6 within the Vaal region. We also do registration for employees that are working at the outlets. The employees that are working at the outlet, at casinos and all of them, they need to be registered. We need to have a database of saying who is working where. We have achieved that at 100%. We also license and regulate the machines that you play with. Some of you, you'll see in the bars or taverns, you have this low payment machine. We call them the low payments machine. We give license to those machines because we need to audit their profit and make sure that we create revenue for the areas within which those machines are plugged. Being it gambling, you'll have disputes. Others will feel they've been robbed. Others will feel that the outlet doesn't want to pay. We call that a gambling dispute. We make sure that we resolve that dispute. That is the good thing of participating in a legal gambling outlet. Because if you look at it, we say we will look at the disputes because you will have a recourse if you participate in a legal gambling outlet. But if you decide to go and bet or dlala dice, there is no recourse. There's no recourse. So we are trying to also be a recourse of all the legal gambling outlets. We also look at the percentage of licensee non-compliance. We have achieved 100% on that. We didn't receive much of the non-compliance. Critically is the issue around the law enforcement agencies and the closure of illegal gambling outlets. Community and colleagues, you'll also know that there are mushrooming outlets calling themselves internet cafes or whatever, which are also doing gambling without a license. Your participation in illegal gambling outlets, it's looked at as a criminal activity. And if they rob you there, you will not be coming to us. But we impress on the community to say, help us identify those illegal gambling outlets. We have a tip of anonymous number. We'll be able to go and look at that because all those illegal outlets, they are eating on the revenue that we're supposed to give to the provincial government. We have overachieved on that. In Q2, we managed to do raids and close 106 outlets, illegal outlets. On responsible gambling, even if we derive revenue from tax levies and issuing of license, we need to put into cognizance that in any social ills that are created by gambling, we need to have interventions. And the interventions are to promote responsible gambling. We have a toll-free number, which is 0800 006 008. We have a table outside which is marked Gauteng Gambling Board for those who are interested in issues relating to gambling, but also for treatment of counseling for those who feel they are addicted or they are the problem gamblers. Will be able to help you from that desk. I've talked about illegal gambling, which is a thorn on the revenue that we create. I've also talked about the unqualified audit that we received. I'd like to thank you.
No, thank you very much. The Gambling Board. Now we're going to get Dinokeng and Cradle of Humankind. Those are our heritage site, and then you know about them. Then you're going to check the employment they are making. Yeah, so they will explain to us about Dinokeng, and also just zoom to the relevance, but they must understand, Dinokeng, what it is. They must know these things. All right.
Ke leboha thata, Chairman. My name is Matthew Sateke. Ke dumedise hape di-members tsa rona. Ka tlhompho le boikokobetso ke rata ke le dumedise kaofela, dumelang. Ka botswalo ke tswa Pretoria, so ha ntse ke leka go le batomela ka go tlhalosa, ke tshepa gore le tla ntlhalwana he ke re Daedeng, le tla tlhalwana gore ke tswa ko kae, ke ra hore. Let me thank you all for the privilege and opportunity of presenting this report. The chairperson has asked me to explain, and it's very important to make people understand when you communicate. I'm responsible for Cradle of Humankind, entity, and Dinokeng project. The Cradle of Humankind is a World Heritage Site. It go our Western Corridor. Dinokeng project. It go Pretoria East is one of the 3 hubs that we are having. And ke tlo re hantse ke tsamaya le lona mo letong la ka la reporto, ke nne ke le tswalanya le Dinokeng project because you have similarities. I agree we've got the Val River here. Is that the right place where the Val River is? Thank you very much. Go na le mokgatlho mo lefatsheng ba re ke UNESCO. E emela United Nations Education, Science and Cultural Organization mo lefatsheng. Mokgatlho o ke mokgatlho o leng gore go dumelwane mo lefatsheng gore botle ba lefatshe bo tlhagelle mo pepeneneng, batho botlhe ka mo lefatsheng ba tsebe gore ko China go na le Chinese Wall, ko France go na le Eiffel Tower, mo South Africa go na le what we call Cradle of Humankind. So South Africa e filwe bokgoni le recognition ya gore ba ka tlhalosa history ya human origin, meaning South Africa e bontshitse bokgoni ga mmogo le Wits University gore ba ka tlhalosa gore go diragetseng in 3.2 million years back. That is why re bua ka marapo a batho ba ne ba phela ka mengwaga e me 3.2 million and beyond that. Ra bitsa di fossils. So how ya go Cradle of Humankind? Re na le museum mo re tlhalosang where people originate. Mara rena ka matlhala rena mo South Africa e be re tseya knowledge eo. Re ka se tlhalosetse fela batho ka marapo le di fossils. Re tlo tseya tšhono e re create meshomo, re create di hotele, re create di restaurante gore re tle re kgone go fa batho ditiro. Ebile re bane le baeng ba ba tloang mo mafatsheng a mang ba tla go utlwisisa ka marapo ba tle mo Afrika Borwa. Eo ke Cradle of Humankind World Heritage Site. Ke ka lebaka leo re bitsang dikolo, bana ba dikolo, re berekisana le department gore le mo Vale le tseye bana ba lena le ba tlise ko Cradle of Humankind re ba tlhalosetse ka history of human origin. Ko Dinokeng re na le what we call 3 hubs. Re butse game reserve ya Big 5, Rabula habe e hub ya Cullinan mine, Rabula habe engwe hape ya Roodeplaat. So lena le tsamaisana le Roodeplaat. Roodeplaat is a dam mo e leng hore mo kotareng e ya rona ya bobedi. We hosted the World Cup of rowing competition. Mo e leng hore 44 countries visited Dinokeng. They spent their money. They were participating in rowing, and re kgonne ho create 58 jobs on a 2-year contract. Let me tell you why the 58 jobs are important. We are making an assumption that every black family in particular constitutes of 5 people. In that 5 people, if we have created 1 job, it means 5 people are able to put food on the table. So you calculate that 58 by 5, it gives you 200 and more or less 270. So this is how government is creating opportunities to alleviate poverty. I was just giving this background because you also have a river here. So as I talk about the river and community beneficiation, le tshwanetse le tlhaloganye gore le lena le ka emella la itirela. I'll get deeper into that when I give a report. Ka sebaka se re buang ka sona, Chairman, kotara ya we2 ya this financial year, we had a total of 15 targets that we are going to be reporting on. In the Cradle, we had 11 targets, and we achieved 7. In Dinokeng, we had 4 targets for the quarter, and we achieved 2. Now, marapo a ra lebelletseng ko Cradle, a ke ntse ka re bua ka ona. Ra bitsa gore a na le world outstanding universal value. Ka mantswe a mang, batho bo America all over, they want to understand what are we talking about? How does these fossils look like? So they travel all over, they come to Maropeng to get an understanding the human origin. So that target was achieved. Meaning, every year we conduct 2 inspections, and because it's half year, we have done the first inspection. Because Marapo are mining activities, I'm sure Babambalena Lutlili about Sibaya mines and so on. So these fossils are underground again. So responsibility protected. So we do what we call water monitoring. Water monitoring go make sure gore metsi a acid a ska tla ho hola marapo a rena ra palla go bontsha batho bokgoni ba rena mo Africa borwa hobane ba tla re tlosa mo listing e re leng mo yona ya UNESCO. Hape re laola development in the Cradle area. We've got a core area mo e leng hore re tshwantse re tlhokomele pleke eo, re make sure hore ha ona di high rise buildings, hape ha ona di golf estate, because marapo are very sensitive, and we have to make sure that we regulate every development, meaning that we can't do commercial development such that it interferes with our fossils. If we don't comply, ha re sa tlhokomele re no tloela ho iriwa ka mokgwa o batho ba batlang. Ba tla re tlosa mo listing go tshwana le ka mokgwa ba irileng ko Liverpool ka 2004 ba ira le ko Germany. Nako nngwe le ono bea le bridge mo sa tshwanang like in Berlin. Ba le delista ba re lena you are not complying le molao wa lefatshe wa UNESCO. In order to increase economic activity, recreate le mebereko, we also do mountain bike. Meaning we invite batho ba di bikers ba tle, and then they stimulate, as they book into the accommodation, they stimulate job opportunities. Just of interest, Rile Raberekisana le our sister agency, Gauteng Tourism, Rabiza Channel 702, yeah, it's a walk the talk. The idea ya rona gore re bitse batho ba bangata ba tle ba bone gore ao go na le Cradle of Humankind. And I must say, CEO, that a lot of people are coming back, they are paying, they are sleeping over, so thank you very much for the partnerships. So we maintain those areas, we create jobs. The target has been achieved. We are also inviting cyclists. If you go to the Cradle of Humankind, o tla bona batho ba nametse di bicycle, they are sleeping over, they are spending their money there. Our plan, chairperson, in the next 10 years, in the next 5 years, we are planning to do what we call Tour de France. I know that people may think we are ambitious. These things are doable. In the next 5 years, we are going to build up. We know GTA, you are going to help us. We want Tour de Cradle, not Tour de France. We want to make sure that we attract people in Gauteng and to spend their money in Gauteng. This relates more to tourism. We call it sports tourism, and we work hand in hand with our sister agency. Of course, we are also maintaining the roads in the Cradle of Humankind. The target has been achieved. We're also doing community benefits project. Let me say this. Ko officing tsa rona hona yaanong, as we are speaking, nona le di project tse ne le di community benefits project, ba bang ba ikeletsa di sofa ka mataere la di tseba kere. So we bought their furniture, is there in our office. We are using it to decorate our offices. And we are sponsoring those community projects and SMMEs to now do wood furniture. So I'm saying this so that you also understand that you are not on your own, you've got the skills, you can initiate. That the majana bulela ka di community project, township project, tse tusang again. We have regional offices here, you have the river, you can initiate your own community projects, we'll come in to support you, we'll share our experiences, lead community project. Especially what the artifacts. We also bought the artifacts and photos, the wall photos, to decorate our offices. So I know some of you do have the skills and you can start. And we have supporting projects that have been explained by Ntate Saki, how they support the grants that they are offering. So in terms of community projects, we have 4. We have achieved the target because the second quarter is half year. So 2 community beneficiation projects have been achieved. This one is not too much for you because it's about the special vehicle. For Mal, I'm gonna leave it out. Triple BE, I'm surely understand that our government is trying to reach out to you, and it's a must that we implement. We are on target, and I think we should do better in the Cradle and Dinokeng community, entities. In terms of payment of service providers, we are 100%. I can't talk more about that. Those that are providing services to Cradle and Dinokeng, they do understand that within 30 days, and in most cases, it's 15 days, they get paid. In Dinokeng, I like to explain this because many people don't understand. Bao ba salang television e morao, le tla lemoha hore around September, ho na le pholoholo e ko game reserve e ileng ya tlhokofala, ya ja ke dinonyane, and then they also lost about 100 birds. Pholoholo eo ne jele what we call alien vegetation. Alien vegetation ke dibjalwa tse di sa nyakeng ke diphoofolo, and unfortunately they are poisonous. Now, if you run a game reserve and you don't look after those alien vegetation, you may end up losing your animals in the game reserve. So we see an opportunity to create jobs through that. Re hira batho ba ko Dinokeng gore ba tle ba batlane le di-alien vegetation in the game reserve, and that is another opportunity of creating job opportunities, but at the same time maintaining the game reserve. So our hectares have been achieved, and we're doing this also in the Cradle, in both Cradle and Dinokeng. Now, I did explain about the rowing competition, as I was giving an example, that we created 58 jobs to remove a plant called hyacinth. Imo Matamong, it's a problem now in Hartbeespoort. The business was closed. It's beginning to be a problem again in the Cradle. But Dinokeng, I think in South Africa we have successfully been able to deal with it in Rhodeplat Dam as we were preparing for the rowing competition. So we are taking the models, the chemicals. I saw the Hartbeespoort Dam, people have asked for it. We are also using it in the Cradle. We are trying to establish a campsite in Dinokeng. We have been delayed. It's one of the projects we could not deliver on time, but we are definitely going to deliver in the third quarter because of a consultation that is necessary with the municipality. In Dinokeng as well, we had 100%, and one of the reasons why we delayed with the project in the Cradle was because we had to avoid duplication, so the procurement had to return and we could not meet the deadline. I want to thank you very much for listening to me, and thank you, Chairperson and members. I've tried to make sure that I aligned. I know that I was not too much focused on the report, but I wanted it to be relevant to the area. I must say in conclusion, ngwana ka o tsena sekolo mo Vale, so he ntate o la bolela ka marobalo, gore you can build back rooms. I think it's an opportunity in this area to look at that opportunity, le hirisetse bana ba sekolo, and be able to make more money. I thank you.
Yeah, we want to try by all means re-understand this department. So now we're going to the last presentation from the entities. You want to Tshwane, Automotive, Special, Tshwane, they understand them very well. I get a fort in South Africa. They will explain it. I don't want to go deeper into that. Please explain it. Let them understand this thing. Because if we talk about it, but they will understand what is this Tshwane Automotive Special Economic Zone. Over to you. That's the presentation.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity today to present here to the community of the Vaal. So in terms of what the Tshwane Auto SEZ is, or TAZES as it stands for, it's a special economic zone that's specifically built for economic activity. Currently in South Africa we have 11 of these zones, and 2 of them has been designated in Gauteng, which is the Tambo SEZ and then the Tshwane SEZ. And as you know from the communication now, we're also busy with the Val SEZ. Our agency is here also busy with the Val SEZ. So the Tshwane Auto SEZ, what the name says, it was specifically with the emphasis on the automotive sector. And maybe before I go into the detail of it, for the members here, how many of you have ever worked in the automotive sector? Have you ever worked within the sector, or none of you? No hands? No hands, okay. Yeah, at least the AIDC would have, give me one hand, thanks. So if you see the Ford Ranger, because the Tshwane Auto SEZ is literally located next to where the Ford production plant is in Silverton, in the city of Tshwane. So if you see a Ford Ranger on the road, most likely that Ford Ranger was built in South Africa, ne? So now my question to you is, how long do you think, if you go stand at the end of that assembly line, how long do you think it takes for one Ranger to come off the line until the next Ranger comes off? How long do you think it takes? If you're busy producing that car, if you're manufacturing that car, how long do you think it takes? If you stand at the end of that line where the Rangers comes out, how long do you think we wait for the next Ranger to come off the line? How long? 30 minutes. Okay. So this gentleman is saying every 30 minutes there's a Ford Ranger coming off the production line in South Africa. You think he's in the ballpark there? No. Okay. I'm not going to take too much time for the guessing work, but you are most probably out by 27 minutes. Every 2 minutes, there's a car coming off the production line. Every 2 minutes. 24 hours, guys. Every 2 minutes. There's a car coming off the production line. So now you can understand, if you're just thinking of that car coming off the production line, remember, you've got seats that goes into that car. You've got wheels that goes onto that car. So that means if every 2 minutes there's a car coming off a production line, somewhere in this world, there's every half a minute, there's a wheel, a tire being produced.
I'm sorry about that. You know, I mean, this is quite interesting, the 2 minutes. And I just wondered, what is the amount of time taken for them to be stolen? It's less than a minute. So I just thought.
Yeah, we won't get technical how long it takes them to develop the components not to get stolen. But yeah, so if you look at that, then you understand why we're saying in the automotive sector we talk about words like just in time, just in sequence. You need to have those parts that's going on that car very close to you. So you can think how big these factories must be where these cars are being produced. We've got a chassis line, the chassis of the Ford where the wheel sits on. That chassis line is more than 10 rugby fields in size. Just the line where that chassis is being produced. So in terms of how it impacts the economy, the automotive sector in South Africa, it's huge because it's not just Ford that's producing that car. It's got a lot of component manufacturers that must make the wheels, that must make the seats, that must make the harnesses that's in the car, all the electrical components. So on average, per car, you will get more than 250 suppliers, international suppliers, and these are all international suppliers. A lot of the components currently produced is coming from, is being imported. So the whole idea with the Tshwane Auto SEZ is firstly to create sustainable jobs. Secondly, to increase local content in South Africa, because it's not needed. If we increase local content, we can create more jobs at the end of the day. So the Tshwane Auto SEZ was created to say, let's create a location where factories can set up their facilities and produce components for the cars. That has a downstream economic impact because then you need smaller suppliers, you need SMMEs, you need people to make the tools, you need tools to make the car, or you need the presses, you need all the different type of components, you need the material to make the seats, you need all these materials that needs to come in and make sure that a car is delivered every 2 minutes. Because if that car is not delivered, Ford actually pays a penalty to their customer for not delivering that car. So we've put the Tshwane SEZ very close to Ford. It's literally, you can see Ford on the opposite side of the road. And as a government agency, our objective was to ensure that we make sure that we involve the communities in this project. And we've created a community project committee to make sure that we create jobs when Ford and the suppliers want to create jobs that tap into the local communities within the Tshwane region. And we make sure if there's any SMME opportunities, because we're busy with a lot of construction, we involve the SMMEs. So when I give you feedback on our indicators, what we have achieved, it's about those things. It's about, did we create jobs? Are we helping SMMEs? Are we helping the local communities in the area? And for this project to be where it is, Tshwane is not just it's not just one department, but we've got 3 shareholders. We've got the City of Tshwane as a shareholder in this project. We've got Gauteng Department of Economic Development, the province, and we've got the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition as a shareholder in this project. So they are also part of our board at the end of the day. And this is the first time in South Africa's history where these 3 parties are getting together to build a SEZ. So that's why it's so important for us to also look at not just the cars coming off the line, but what economic impact are we creating by putting those cars onto the lines. Okay. This was also the fastest established SEZ, and I'll show you some photos now. But just in terms of, we only established, we are still the baby in the group, or the toddler in the group. We can at least walk now, babies can't. So we at least now 2 years going on the 3rd year, 3 years old. The company is 3 years old. And since establishment, the government has invested 3.9 billion rand into this project. The City of Tshwane, Department of Economic Development, and Gauteng Department has invested 3.9 billion rand into this. Those investments went to the development of the construction, development of the facilities that you would see that I will show you now. Then linked to that is the private sector. They came along and invested another 5.5 billion rand into this, where they've put in their own machinery, their own equipment. Up to date, we've created 4,848 construction jobs, and like I say, our aim is to make sure that we look at the local communities. In the zone where the suppliers are located, where these manufacturers are located that makes the different components for the Ranger, we've created 3,217 permanent jobs. And our aim is also to increase the women participation and youth participation in this project. So from year to year, we're increasing that participation in the project as well. Then on the township economy, unfortunately, you can't see the value there. We've spent, through the procurement on SMMEs in the township, we spent 1.2 billion rand worth of tenders that we've given to SMMEs within the township. So that's just a quick high level in terms of the achievements we've made to date. Like I said, remember, in May, we are only 3 years old. So if you had to go there in August 2020, you would see the site. There was nothing on the site there. It looked like a track where people were driving around. And 1 year later, we already started seeing factories coming up. In October 2021, you started seeing factories coming up. being built. Then October last year, when I was talking about this 2 minutes of Ford, all the factories, we built 12 factories, all the factories were in production, running, making sure that they can give the parts to Ford. And currently, as it stands, the plant, we're creating about, through the factories, we're helping Ford to produce 720 units or 720 cars per day. So if you take that divided by 24, that's where you get to your 2 minutes before it's being produced out of the plant. So this is just some of the photos that we are showing here in September. There's extra roadworks that we are doing. We're also looking at electricity, also looking at other means of how we can support on the electricity side of things as well. So you can see these companies are fully in production, producing parts for the Ford plant. Currently, we're also busy with some landscaping to make sure that the area looks nice. So there's also tenders or projects out there for SMMEs to even support on these type of things. And the one building that you're seeing there in the corner is we don't even have an office yet. We said we will sort out the investors first, and then we will create our own office once we have sorted out the investors. So we're busy with those buildings there. So that was phase one. So it literally took us less than 24 months to establish 10 factories. So we are now moving on to phase two, where we are creating more factories. We're also creating more mini factories for SMMEs in the area there, where SMMEs can come in. We also have a pipeline of back industrials for those factory spaces that we will be doing. So we're currently busy with all the designs and making sure that we've got the proper roads and water and sanitation also linking up to these facilities. Then, like I mentioned, we have a community involvement on this project. We have CLOs that supports us. We've got a community center where people can go to and get additional training or give their CVs. There's also our website there if you want more information on classes that you can visit that website. So the request from the chair and from the portfolio committee is also just to give a quick overview of what we've achieved in this quarter, in quarter two. So just on high level, as Stasis, we've got 9 key indicators that we focus on. And for quarter two, we've achieved all 9 indicators. I think what's critical for us is that we, like we mentioned, is the jobs that we create in the construction sector. Those jobs, we've achieved the target that we set for ourselves there. We also look at training within the automotive chain so that we can get more people involved in the automotive chain. So we've also overachieved on our target there.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo. Ke nako ela ya gore re tlo kwa badudi ka dipotšišo tše ba ka beng ba na le tšona. Ke tlo tšea matsogo ne gore tle re hlomphaneng gabotse. A ke re kwele di-presentations. Go swere dilo tša health tše go imelang, tša education tše go imelang, re tšwa ko Gauteng provincial government or legislature. O ka nna wa tla wa re fa tšona mo. Mo re nyaka gore go o emelele gore botša ka economic development, le dikole di-report. So questions tsa lena di be in order, di tsamaelang le tše ba beng ba le fa tšona. So ke tlo tšea matsogo, ke tlo starta ka mo. A gona brain wave, a kere batho ba bagolo. O mongwe a tlo go gopotša seo se lebetšeng. So that is why ke tlo tšea matsogo, ke tlo starta ka mo siteng ba ba nang le dipotšišo. Abuti ke a go bona, lay 1, la boi 2, la boi 3. A gona 1A, 1B, 1C, a kere ke 1, 2, 3. Ka siteng A. A ke bone ka siteng A, ya letsogo la ka la left. Abuti wa imisha or wa ingwaya. Wa skipa se black, o tlo ba 1. Abuti number 2, yes. And then ko morago re na le number 3. So re na le matsogo a 6. A kere batho ba bagolo, a gona lo a tswalelwang ko ntle. O number 4 ka mo siteng abuti ya. And then re na le number 5 ka mo site. Ka mo re na le 5, ka mo re na le 3. Ka order eo ke tlo le fa maximum ya 3 minutes. Maximum. Go ile 1 minute ke tlo go tlapela matsogo. Maximum ya 3 minutes. Number 1 on this side, o tla itsebisha leina la gago le gore o tswa kae ya ke re ngwaneso. Thank you.
Dumelang. Ke tlo qala ka o leboa legislature. Ha e khona o tlisa department o rona mo fatshe mo. Ka lebitso nna ke Nkolole kwa Bunga ke tswa ke le mo Biketlong Sebokeng. I'm the one of the local SMME tsa mo Sidibeng. Now baetapele ke pelo ka bohloko haholo. Cause I hear the department di a bua ka o thusa di local SMME. Ma gona ntho iwane e nkutisang bohloko. There is a law, hona le melao e beetsweng rona di local SMME. Like if o bua ka local SMME, o bua ka kgwebo e nyane. Es nang compliance tse di company tse kgolo tse na leng tsona. Ntho e nkutisang bohloko bile re tswa periodong ya pandemic ya COVID-19. Rona dikgwebo tse nyane re safarile ha bohloko. And hape ntho e nkutisang bohloko ke utlwa le bua economic development e bua hore e thusa di local SMME tse di service provider tsa bona. Mara ke utlwa ba bua ka rona di local SMME tse sebetsang under the departments of government, like for instance women settlement. Ha ona motho a tlang a tlo oversee re sebetsa jwang, re treatwa jwang, re fuwa rate tse jwang, re patalwaneng. Re na le dula ntho e nka etsang bo ma 3 months o sa kgone. Wa bona kgwebo tsa rona di a bolawa mo local mo. Mara ke utlwe le bua ka yona le economic development hore re tla re tlo le checka bla 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 bla. E nkutisa mhloko la o qetela. Last year ke apply tse loan mo GP. Ha ke apply la loan till today a ke so e thole loan ya teng. Ba mpatla letter of intent ya company for as a proof of market. Ya company e ke tlo renderang service yo. E tlo renderang service o nna man. I mean to say. Then ka ba fa letter of intent. Ba batla financial statement ya that company. Cause ba re nna financial tsa ka di etse hantle. You must remember re tswa ska ke buile re tswa periodong ya COVID-19. Ne re sebetsa bo 2 months re eme bo 6 months re sebetsa ape re eme ape. Okay, ka ba fa letter of intent ya company ka ya ka bua le ona magwa to se ke batla go reka metšhini ke batla ba harisa yo. Ba mfa letter of intent. Ya go utla GP ba re ba batla financial statements at that company. Ka ya company ka bua le ona company ba re no we can't issue the financial statements at all. Di confidential actually. Okay, ka ngola lengolo ke ngolla GP ke ngola email ke ngolla executive ya GP. Okay, Mr. Kana ntshepisa go ke tlo romela business analyst. Ke batla fela e tlo checka site project mo sebetsang teng. Hore is it true written project because sometimes the local SMME di re dia sebetsa ha ba fitla thole le ga iyo lo ba teng project. Ba tlile ba fitla ba viewer site but still today akso thole thuso mme. Ka ba ka sebetsa le ona company ya mfa contract ya 400 and something thousand. Ke yentse project e fedile. Jwale se ke tshwere proof ya company ena le tšhelete. I then submit everything. It was on last week Friday. But nane kopa thuso sem believe Mr. Saki ko na mona kopa nthuse sem believe. Because if I can lose this opportunity, we've got a mega project mo ke dulang teng. If I can lose this project, because in track batang we etsa, e renda kwa ke company tse kgolo na jwale, like bo Talisman, bo company tse kgolo. Rona re di local SME ya re thodi thuso for nna ke ona fela thuso e ke kopang assembly.
Melang. Thank you very much, the Portfolio Committee, bohle ba tlileng ka pele. To honor batho ba Sedibeng. Excuse me. Yeah, man. Mine it's straightforward. The economy of Gauteng.
Leina ngwanesu.
Oh, Leina.
Le gore o tswa kae?
Oh, by the way, my name is Joshua Likula from Propeller. Mine is short. Ne? Much as we are very worried about the economy of the whole country, I've got an interesting research proving we've got 150,000 spaza shop nationally. And the spaza shop market is worth 178 billion. And the very same research goes further to say the spaza shop market is controlled 99.9% by foreigners. Most of this money is taken out of South Africa illegally. We let a very valuable piece of business get out of our hands, and absolutely nobody in government is trying to get this back into South African hands. Straight and forward, as I've indicated. Now, the funny part is that if you look at Immigration Act 13 of 2002, it says foreigners must only be allowed to open business in South Africa if their investment is at least minimum of 5 million. This implies that immigrants should never be allowed to operate in informal trading such as salons, spaza shops, selling veggies, which are reserved for locals only. Now, here's my point. Right here in Sedibeng, in a township called Bopilo, we were able to get rid of the foreigners who were running the spaza shop businesses. Peacefully so, and legally so. Now, we are in a situation whereby we've got more than 100 shops, ne? And those 100 shops, they hloka hore batho ba kene and operate. Now you can imagine if this become a domino effect from Bopilong, Sharpeville, Sebokeng, and so on and so on. How many jobs are we going to create? Now we recopa that the Portfolio Committee must escalate this message to the office of the Premier Lesotho. Our Premier is busy in Soweto. I've seen a video where he was in I think it was one of the radio stations, community radio stations, Soweto radio station. Can he come to Sedibeng? We are working here. And we're working with the law enforcement agencies. We are not looting, we are not xenophobic. So this is going to create a lot of jobs for unemployed young people, business people around here who are sitting here, who wants to grow and make money and contribute back to the economy of our country. So, with all due respect, that we are going to follow the law. He claimed on February that the Township Economic Development Act must be practiced. Thank you very much.
La bona le re kgetholla ke tlo utlwana le lona nna ke bolela le mphapathele ba bang le ba phaphathele le ska re divide number 3
dumelang Portfolio Committee lebitso la ka ke Dumisane le nna ke tsa Bophelong le Joshua Lekula mara nna ke tlo touch on something different wa bo and personally even for nna wa bo it's the red tape. Because I was listening to a lot of people that gave a presentation here. And to me, all I could hear is budget constraints, financial constraints, budget cuts, delays to service providers, delays in transfer of funds. Okay, well, I have not applied for funding before, but from what I've heard, I don't want to lie, it was not positive at all, because all I've heard was constraints and constraints all the way. From all the people that presented. Let me get to my point. There was a topic about rental backroom assistance. So I looked on the website as well about this rental backroom assistance. I think it was the township economy, Mr. Masha Anabuakayona, and converting RDP houses into rental units, which also Ntate touched on, Hori. There's a big opportunity here in the Val for us to look at that backyard dwelling rental units. So the issue being, RDP houses that we live in Bupilong, they don't have title deeds. People were not given title deeds. And yet, when you have to apply for funding for backroom assistance, they require you as a first requirement to have a title deed. Where are we going to get a title deed? Okay, and it is expensive to get a title deed. You have to get a lawyer to get a title deed. You don't just get a title deed for free. So that's one of the red tape that I have experienced, because I run a backyard dwelling business myself, and I couldn't apply for funding or a grant because I'm required to present a title deed. I can't afford to get a title deed because RDP houses do not have title deeds. That's point number one. Point number two, Kasim Noto Fund. Kasim Noto Fund is a loan fund, we understand. I looked at the assessment criteria of that loan fund. How are we as people who have been disadvantaged for so many years, living in RDP houses, getting education from NSFAS, able to get 12 months bank statements, able to get financial projections of 36 months, like the brother was saying, financial statements for businesses that we want to start, yet we cannot get any funding, we cannot get any loans because of all these red tapes. Where are we going to get these documents from? When RDP houses, because if you look at the socio-economic programs like RDP houses and NSFAS, they were given to poor assessing if you have a high credit score, if you have bank statements and all of that, because they understood that these people were poor and they were marginalized because of apartheid. So we are being marginalized again by this red tape that we must provide all these documents, and there's no incubation. And here's my question. If you say that you have funds, why are you not using those funds for incubation for us to get those documents, rather than us having to pay to get those documents and having to apply? So the last, this is my last point. I heard Uguti, only 24 people in Sidibeng have received grants. Only 24. How is it possible? Only 24 people receive grants. Only 20, the whole region. And after that, all I hear is budget constraints. So, are you selling us reality, or are you just doing your job and leaving and saying, Uguti, the monies are not going to come in at the end of the day? Because if you only granted 24 people funds, then it really is a problem. I thank you. Thank you.
Ka lebitso ke Mpho Nkitsi, re ke dumedise portfolio chairperson, le bohle ba tsamayang le yena, le setjhaba kaofela. Le nna ke ema mona ke le highly disappointed because of one, portfolio chairperson o buile the agenda ya today, it's only one, ke presentation. And then I thought we are going to have those documents so that we can highlight and check what you are saying it in now. And then also, checking the area e ke tswang ka hare ho yona ko Sebokeng kapa ke hlahetse Sharpeville. Ko hore Department ya Economic Development ha e tla mo e tla ka hara Emfoleni e lo reng ka hara Gauteng province. And then how check infrastructure ya rona ya fatshe ya collapse. And then how collapse, we are talking about the economy while the infrastructure collapse. Ne ke batla ho checka le department le na lo ho communicate al institution of high learning in terms of research hore le ka revitalize the economy ka tsela e jwang. Because currently ha ke checka Val hona le ntate a bitswang Van der Bijl. Hona le pleke e bitswang Van der Bijl, and then now check Van der Bijl. He is the one of the personnel during that system. O kile a isiwa sekolong ko Netherlands. Ha khutla a bua ka hore tjhelete e renovate so that the economy be boosted. Ho tle ka Eskom, ho tle ka railway, ho tle ka agriculture, ho tle ka steel. And then how check hore re tlo bua ka economic development. Firstly, people need to have a proper job. People need to have permanent job. You cannot talk about local economic development while some people are unemployed, because the very same local business need to be supported. And currently we are having municipalities selling receive a revenue because of high rate of unemployment. And then the mode of transport. Ko Valley, we used to utilize train ho rebo lensenyana kapa Joburg. Hore batho ba lo sebetsa ba kgona ho tla le tjhelete. Ne rena le di entrepreneurs within the rail kapa ka hara train. Currently ntho tseo ha di etsahale, but ha ke mametse di presenters di tla ka part of lip service. You are very good in talking, but issue ya ho hlabolla maphelo a batho, you are not doing that. Chairperson, what he said to us, ore ha qala in his opening, ore a ke batle le tswe the way le tleng ka teng, ke batla ha le tswa le lo develop so that le be developed, le be well established. But one of the challenges, we are not going to be established because of most of the time we need people beloring, or we are observing people beloring batlaka a lip service. And then Harry Tshwane batho ba Harry in this workshop, kapa in this gathering. Ha ona man mo eloreng batho ba monitor, batho ba attendileng, re thola di call Raymond, o no le teng workshopong ye so. O khona ho implementa 1 2 3, because now to me ha ke le bona mo ke bona batho be loreng your budget e ngata le batla ho e hafola latla ko Emfoleni kapa ko Sedibeng hore le tlo bua le rona so that you are going to utilize that money. We really need development. We don't need lip services. So with due respect, let us stop talking. Let us start to execute what is needed. We've got the researchers. I wonder how Human Research Council still exists or utilize. The institution of high learning, let utilize. But now, we used to be resourceful. Renal rainwater. Two, ArcelorMittal. To those companies. 3, valid was one of the best in terms of the agriculture. But negili sure, ke tlo utlwa the presentation ya lona tlo bua ka hore agriculture re bone area ya lona it was identified as an agricultural area. Therefore, really Department of Economic Development, we are going to do 1, 2, 3 so that we can help. Currently people re ka hara serious poverty. And guys, hey, ha re tlohelleng ho bua re etseng.
Ha ke dumedise portfolio committee le chairperson le ba mpotapotileng. Ka lebitso ke Linda ke hlaha Everton. Ka skane ke mametse chairperson ana qala o itse re sebedisane mmoho. Re bue mathata a rone a tlo tseba ho tsamaisa. So question ya ka is straight and forward ke kopa ho bua le ba liquor board. Nna mo hlanteng batho ba ka ba lefatsheng le ke tswang ho lona ba iphidisa ka ho rekisa jwala. And ha re tseba our premier a motjha e leng Ntate Panyapanya a on the ground o qeta o introduce di wording tse le hore batho ba bitsa di green ma green beans, and which is nna ha ke le Linda ha ke rekisa jwala they come ba nke jwala bo ba go ska rekisa just because ha ona setlankana. So my plea ho liquor board ne ke kopa fela ho tseba hore those people ba itekisetsang jwala e le hore keng ha se di tavern jwalo ba ba thusa jwang at least nyana ba ka ba fa di nthonyana tse nyenyana tsa hore ba rekise hore bontate bane ba sebetsang ka molao ha ba fitla ho bona ba kgone ho utlwana le bona. Ke a leboha.
Sanbonan. Igama ngukhulekani wakwaGabuza from Kasi Business Network. Siqhamuka ePalm Springs la eval. Ngine question A1 then emva kwaloko ngine invitation. Ngizwe kukhulunywa ngabo last mile abo mnotho fund information ebengakaze ifike la siqhamuka ngakhona thina. Information ihanjiswa ubani kanjani nini ukuze ifike ebantwini. Information ayifike ebantwini. Number 2, invitation yami on the 21st of March 2024, Kasi Business Network sizohosta iKasi Restaurant Expo and Summit ePalm Springs, where we'll be having over 300 exhibitors from all sectors of our business. We also from tourism, hospitality, retail, manufacturers, also our service providers and more. We would like to work with the department and Mfuleni municipality. Ngiyabonga.
Thanks, Chair. Ha ke tlo ba mtelele ke Meshak Mthibedi ka ona ka ra Mfuleni Ward 25, and thank you so much for the Portfolio Committee on Economic Development for seeing the importance at least this portfolio committee right here in the Val. But can we just be practical? And ke ne ke kopa hore the officials, not portfolio committee per se, the officials, be it GEP, Val CEZ, Township Economy, particularly Mr. Maja, in some presentation. Ne ke kopa hore nna le yena I sacrifice that. Nna le yena as an official, it's a short meeting after this. Ke mo nke ke mise into my ward. I ke jole ke bua for being practical, because renale young people by long or really they are just a business people, but they don't have the very same thing a portfolio committee in terms of the presentation by them by it. Neke kopa who can set up the date or who went into my ward, which is Ward 25, which is very much rich in terms of agriculture. Number 2, presentation in neke kopa hore nka ka ifumana hard copy presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ntate Mthibedi. Number 5,
Dumelang batswadi, especially community ya Vaal, le baetapele ba rona. Ke Ntantla wa Handaba from Ward 25. Batswadi ke na le bothata, ke na le concern hape. Ho bona department e kana e tlile ka hara Vaal, under unemployment e teng ka hara Vaal. Then be ba bua ka di trainings tsa batho ba 78 tsa batjha. On top of unemployment e kana ka hara Vaal. E a swabisa ntho eo baetapele. The other issue e ke tlang ka yona batswadi ba ka ke implementation. Can you please, le di officials tsa government, go back to the drawing board. Leke le check hantle, leke le stop nthwenana ya di talk show. We are tired ki di talk show. Tsena tse re di tholang. It's been close to 7 years ke le businessing. Coming to the workshop, ha hona ntho e molemo e ntswelang di workshopong tse ke tlang ho tsona tsa government. Can you please go back to the drawing board and check? Ha le tla setjhabeng, le tla le tlo assista. Not just fela hore mamela as we speak right now and go back. Ha le fitla di officing, we know the questions tsa rona ha ona mo le di isang teng. Can you please go to the drawing, please? Because of now, re apply. Le refa mehlahlandlela hore GEP ina le di opportunities. When we go to the office of GEP, ha re di thole di opportunities tseo. It's difficult for us as young people, as black businesses, who retole those opportunities unless ota olelo comrade or you know some other officials of government. It's whereby you can get those opportunities. Baetapele, ke kopa le hore ke le fe lentswe lena. Le kgutlele le morao, nna ke le motjha wa Vaal. Ha ke support report e le tlileng ka yona kaofela ka hara Vaal. Ya swabisa haholo. Thank you very much.
thank you, Mocha. As always, we expect robustness from yourselves. Re le leboge ka moka, ke re felletse, ne? Re le leboge ka moka ka diputiso tša lena. Some of you ne le commenta, go na le ba beng ba le very direct. Gore nna ke kgopela 1, 2, 3, 4. And I hope ge department e emela e tlo le araba, e tlo leka go le addressa as such. Unfortunately, re le baetelle dipele re thotobolo. Ke tletle go senang di red tapes, ba re le corrupt. Ka tletle go lekang go beiwa mabaka gore dilo di sepele ga botse, ba re ke di red tapes, re baetelle dipele re thotobolo, re tla di rwala ka moka. Ke tla kgopela boetelle dipele ba department led by the HOD to come and respond to these issues. Let's go lolo. Ke kgopela le re fela on issues that they've raised. Le bolele mo go tsona. Ge motho a re likhwa board, ke kgopela seqepezana. Motho go a kgonagala ora go kgonagala. So that re ska raise the expectations tsa bona unnecessarily. Ke a leboga. HOD?
No, thank you for the questions. I think first, I mean, the point the chair the chair of the session now is making is correct, that there is a level of compliance we have to do. And this is a plea I always make to everyone. The fact that we apply doesn't mean everyone is gonna get approved. So when there's a decline, you may think it is not fair, but we also have responsibility because these are public funds. On the breakdown of numbers on people who got some sort of grant assistance here, it's 199. I said 107 of them was business development support. Then there was 68, which was about training, and then the 24 were informal traders. So the total number is 199 people that we have here. And we raised the budget issue because these things are a function of funds that are available. So people who apply do get the money. Even on the loans, we saw on the reports, we actually higher than the targets we had. So it's not as if the money is not given to people. It's because there's a specific requirement. So I'll make an example on what the gentleman is talking about. If you come to us and apply for contract finance or purchase order finance, so we've been aggressive on giving money to people who have contracts and they need money to fulfill the contracts, because we realize that in most occasions, banks will not fund, those private entities that fund may be expensive. So we put a bit of focus on it, but the important thing is we don't rely on the entrepreneur's strength to pay the funds. We rely on the person who is issuing the contract. Now, if it is government publishes its financials on annual reports, so we can rely on government. If it's a listed company, the results are published. But if this is a company that is not listed, how do we rely on the fact that they have ability to pay you? Because we're going to be paid by them. So we need those financials to do it. But if you don't qualify then for contract finance, there are other ways of getting the finance, which is why we ask for your own financial statements or your own bank statements. Now, when we ask for financial statements, we're not saying this is how they must look like. We're saying give us the statements. You can't say, I've been running a business for 3 years, but you have nothing to show for it. So you have to show us the bank statements. You can then explain that I've been running at a loss because of COVID, but they must be there. You can't tell us I can't submit because of COVID. You were operating, so you've got to give us the documents. Then you sit with the analyst and explain where your position is and also demonstrate how you're going to pay, because ultimately these are loans. We must be able to have something we rely on. Otherwise, when these loans are not paid, the auditors look at us and say, this was reckless. You gave money without any form of documentation. So the documentation has got to be there. If you are a startup where you think you can put your own financial statements together, we also pay for that. So apply for something different. Don't apply for a loan when you are not ready for it. Apply for us to do your financial statements so that you are able to apply to any other institution. Otherwise, we are all reckless. The day you can't pay the loan, I can be charged for being reckless on dispersing monies to people where I had no basis to make the decisions on. So that's why the compliance is there. But again, I mean, I sympathize with entrepreneurs. It is tough to get money in South Africa. We're working with other DFIs, your CFAs, IDC, to increase the pool of funds that are available, and even banks where they are able to come to the party. So some of these funds under the Township Economy Partnership Fund are partnerships where we're trying to make the pie that's available to entrepreneurs a little bit more accessible. But work with us on compliance. There is no way around it because this is taxpayers' money, unfortunately, and that's what we want to do. As I said, I mean, I think the other ones are more comments. The human settlement issues on payments of service providers, I think Parliament tracks government departments and how quickly they are paying, but you can also come to us where you are finding difficulties where payments are later than they should be, and we can then try and assist you on, where there's, there's some of those delays. And then the title deed issues, I guess either colleagues from the department or somebody else. So those are the questions I noted which were directed to us. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions also and the comments. I think as member was saying, we are in that situation where for everything that we do, there must be a criteria because we must account for every cent that we spend. So there will always be a criteria in terms of how people need to participate and apply and interact with the program. So just to make that point, I think that is very important. Maybe let me just start on the Kasi Umnotho Fund. So if you look at the criteria, yes, there is the criteria that has been listed. But also what is communicated there is that in instances where, for reasons that have been raised, people are not able to, there is a rehabilitation program. So that we help people with something called de-risking, so that people can also get to a point where they can be assisted. Because the requirements that have been put there, some of them we can't avoid them because they are in line with the financial sector. So we need to be able to have financial statements and all the things that are required, right? So I think that is very important just to mention as well. So don't sit and say, hey, if I apply, I'm going to fail. No, apply so that we can interact based on the outcome of your application, right? So I think that is very important. Also, just to say that we used a lot of channels to communicate. If you go into our on our Facebook page now, and just look at the programs that are being implemented, there's not only what I'm talking about, a lot of opportunities that we're talking about. So there are platforms that we use, including social media. We also do community outreach programs. I mentioned, I think on my slides, some of the communities that we've been to, where we're talking about the opportunities. So I think also, please, let's also make sure that we take steps to be able to try and find information. So it's there, it's out there in the public. I think the gentleman who was talking about it now probably checked it now as we were talking, right? Earlier. So just to showcase that the information is there. So if you Google Humankind Fund, you will find it, and you can then be able to get information around what it is all about, as an example. On these spaza shops, right? So I think maybe let me. So in Bophelong, we've had a conversation in the last week or so with Alex. I don't know if you know Alex Mkwena there. So we're looking at going. So he did mention. I think when we spoke to him, he was at about 45 or so shop owners. So you're saying that we are now at 100, which is fine. So what we had agreed is that we will have a session because we need to be able to take these guys through the program and how it works. So maybe talk to Alex in Bophelong. We have agreed, we're just working on a date in terms of when are we going to come to that session and be able to take them through how the program works. So maybe talk to Alex so that we combine. We don't create different structures and we have to come back over and over again. As we know, as we are in the Val, we must also be in in Tshwane and all over. So let's try and also where we can organize ourselves so that we just come once and we're able to tackle all the things that you've raised, right? So we're just waiting for the date there, and then we will come to the hall to engage on these things. And then I think Palm Springs now will come, so it's fine. Let's talk after the meeting. We'll come and see how we support you in terms of the event in 2024. That is fine as well. But also we'll talk to Mr. Mtibedi in terms of meeting after and being able to work out how we can come back and be specific around some of the things that we've presented. Also, I think those are some of the questions that were raised relating to my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Lebitso la ka ke Paseka Matlaku. I'm from Gauteng Liquor Board. I'm just here to respond to question regarding issue illegal trading. As the Gauteng Liquor Board, our answer is very simple. We don't promote illegal trading. And illegal trading is outside our mandate as the Gauteng Liquor Board. It's within the mandate here, SAPS. So if you are operating illegally, you don't have a license, expect SAPS to visit you. Now our mandate is very simple as Gauteng Liquor Board. We only regulate licensed premises. So it's very easy. I think maybe after this meeting, we have our table outside there as the Gauteng Liquor Board. So we'll be able to assist you on the process of how to apply for a liquor license. So Ntoro Kopanywana is very difficult as liquor board. You can't handle it. It's like how Kopanele a traffic cop and then you are saying go traffic cop, Kokopo driver mango, it's not a license. It's not a driving license. So basically our answer is very simple. When it comes to illegal trading, it's outside our scope as the liquor board. We won't be able to assist you. But in order to formalize your business, on a table outside, we'll be able to assist you as the Gauteng Liquor Board. Thanks, Chair.
All right, thanks, Chairperson. And Once more, good afternoon to yourselves. I'll be very quick because I know that I'm standing between ourselves and closure. Just to thank the community for the questions and the comments that were made. That's the first point. The second point is that the department agrees with the fact that we need to talk less and do more. So we are at one there. And that is what we intend to do. The point that was raised by Kimanki Joshua around the spaza shops, we've agreed with Masha that we need to have a workshop just to deal with that issue, and we're sorting out the date for when that workshop can actually be held around the spaza shops. So that is taken care of. And then the other issue that Kimanki Tumisani will raise it, the issue around the backroom upgrades. And the fact that there was a complaint that if you've got an RDP house, you can't actually do an upgrade because you don't have the title deeds. Now, the title deeds and the issuing of the title deeds is a responsibility of the Department of Human Settlements within Gauteng Provincial Government. So what we need to do is when Masha convenes the meeting, and that's what I would suggest you do, Joshua, that you speak to Masha, we get a date of when you can actually meet. In that meeting, we also make sure that we've got officials from the Department of Human Settlements there so that we can address the issue of, the title deeds that have actually been raised. And that's how I suggest, Chairperson, we deal with this particular issue. Then there was also another point that was raised around incubation strategy. We do have an incubation strategy, and it falls under our enterprise supplier development program. So my suggestion would be when you've got that meeting with Masha, we also deal with the issue of the incubation strategy in that meeting so that you are clear as to what the next step is going to be. Then there was an issue raised around the revitalization of the economy. I think Nelly Paul from Sharpeville raised it. Now, just to indicate that we do have a project with ArcelorMittal around the revitalization, of the Vaal area in general. And maybe it's because you don't know about the work that we are doing there. Later on, we can actually link you up with the people that you need to speak to so that you can participate, in that process and the forum that deals with the revitalization, of the economy. The people in that meeting who attend, the stakeholders who attend that meeting is the department, it's ArcelorMittal, and then we also want to bring in the business forum, into that particular process. So that's what is happening with respect to the efforts around the revitalization of the Vaal. And then the last point is that Ntatem Tibedi asked for a general meeting in Ward 25. That's fine. Let's connect before you leave so that we can just work out the logistics, around that to ensure that we get our relevant officials, to participate in their general meeting. Just to indicate that as a department, we've got what we call economic development facilitators. We've got an economic development facilitator for this particular region, and he's also here. So Ntatem Tibedi, let's talk after this session so that we can just sort out the logistics. I think that's it, Chair. Thank you very much.
A ke leboge HOD and the team for the responses ke le leboge le lena setšhaba go berekišana mmogo. Ka gobane re batho ha re swane, go na le ba bang ba tšhabang go ema mo gare ga batho, akere go ka nyaka go botšiša dipotšišo. Department le di-entities tša yona di sampane di le gona. In the meantime, ge go tšewa tša go iša maleng, le ka leka go kopana le bona ba le tšhabileng go emelela la botšiša. HOD, there's this issue raised one, I think, in all our public hearings. For the documents tsa rena di na le rena ha ba na le tšona, they've raised it even today. I think we need to find a way of ensuring gore presentations tsa rena di fihlela bathong ba re bolelang le bona, so that ba be le a reference point. Modulasetulo ke leboga sebaka sa go facilitate a session. Thank you.
Yeah, ke leboge me Mogaleli Tsie for facilitating this session. Ke tloga ke leboga, and I ke tsebe from honorable members ke na le issue ya illicit financial flows. Ke tla fa ntate Letswalo ka boripana fela just to explain it, and then we will be moving towards closure. Ntate Letswalo.
Yeah, well, it's no, thank you very much, Chair. I think one of the speakers raises a crucial issue around the movement of illegal finances, so that they simplify, because when you say illicit, other people might not understand. But the terminology adopted around it, it's illicit financial and tax avoidance related flows, ITAF. That's what they call it. But of course, it's not only a problem in South Africa. It's a continental-wide problem, which requires a continental approach and response to it. But beyond our shores as a continent, it is also manifested in other continents. And that is why there has been great efforts in the international platform to look into ways in which to rebut this major challenge. And that is why organizations such as the IMF, International Monetary Fund, as well as your OECD, Organizational for Economic Cooperation and Development, including the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, have came together at some point and agreed through their own engagements. What are some of the measures that might help us to push back against the illegal movement of this finances beyond borders? Because every country with its sovereignty has got its own controls around the movement of monies. And so there's a number of mechanisms that they will have introduced. One of them is the Financial Action Task Force. That specifically looks into issues around the tax avoidance, money laundering, and the likes. The second one, if I can recall, would have been the Global Network on Transparency and the Exchange of Information on Tax for tax purposes. So it looks into, a financial account information, distortions, systems and manipulations. It looks into that. And then number three is that you also have got the OECD inclusive framework on the base erosion and policy, profit shifting. So it looks into manipulation of what companies are reporting and the likes, because you may find a company operating in South Africa, but registered with the London Stock Exchange. It sort of manipulates its profits and all of that. So these are institutions look into that. I know there's also the extractive industry transparency initiative that looks into mining corporations, because a great number of these mining corporations unfortunately do not have their home within our country. They will have their home in international platforms, and their accounts will be held elsewhere. And that is why one of the problematic areas has been the issues around the tax havens, which creates sort of a safety zones for these companies to move monies undetected, So it's a plague on efforts to drive the developmental agenda of Africa and the world across the board. And hence I'm saying there are those initiatives. You will recall as far back as 2007, there has been bilaterals, even with our own interministerial committees looking into the issue around the financial outflows. And one of the key figures who has heralded engagements, discussions, interventions on this matter has been the former president, former President Thabo Mbeki, who has spoken quite elaborately on some of the measures that needs to be adopted so that we push back. So we thought we don't leave it, because it's a question that you will have asked and that we respond to. But there's so much more that goes into it, including some of the considerations that have been made around. Thanks.
Yeah, ke bone e le important. Yeah, e le important to explain these things. Skera ra tsamaya le tsona, le a di tseba, re be le the deeper understanding of them. Mara e re ke le leboge ka moka ga lena. I think your cooperation and the question that you've raised, for me, I kenya kuri tifelle mo. What you should do, and I think that's a task, are to organizing as communities. Because when you approach the department as individuals, sometimes I don't want this impact. But when to organize, maybe from Sharpeville, you know, Baba Dilanka, maybe ki penal beating, labor together, they approach the department. Baba Dilanka, ki dispatcher shops, labor together, they approach our department. But for now, as part of our way forward, whatever you wanted to check with the department, you can approach them individually so that maybe your numbers more about what we've discussed today. And now let me thank you, because I'm closing and then I'm getting to the way forward. Rena as a committee, we're going to meet on the 21st, which is next week, Tuesday. As a committee, Rietela Dinokeng, Cradle of Humankind, will be there to check it. How do they really operate? That's one thing. And the second one, sharing the earphone, by the Propeller, return them back, as we've freely stated when we started. And now, secondly, Lena Lidula, as you ask, now is launched, Kina go lunch, Scalatza Mafela, but only Fadijo as you are seated. It's only members who will go in that room and departmental officials. Lena, you'll just sit here, they'll come and make sure that they create your package. Now, thank you very much. We are now adjourning this meeting. We'll meet next time. Re a leboga.